Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. I am so glad that you guys are all here tonight. Boy, do we have a fantastic show lined up for y'all tonight. Gosh, this chat is off the chain, by the way. Thank you to everybody who's here tonight. I am super excited to be here. And also we've had so much going on since the last time I saw you guys yesterday. It has been quite a somber past 24 hours, actually. We've had a lot of tragedy happen in our world, especially here in the U.S. With the death of, y'all know about Charlie Kirk and everything. And also I just got word that Dr. Meldrum has passed away as well. I mean, he is a pillar of the Bigfoot community. Unfortunately, I've not ever been able to meet him in person. And I want to send my heartfelt condolences to all of his family and his friends and all of his fans out there. I know he's got a lot of fans. And so I believe from what I read today, I did not know this, but he had, I think he had brain cancer, y'all. And so please send prayers out to his family tonight and all his friends. And rest in peace to Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum. I know that we have discussed him actually before when it came to the Elkins Creek Bigfoot casts. I've actually brought him up a couple of times. Okay. But that was a big one. I think that cast was sent, that's in Georgia. Okay. But it was sent to him, and he did determine that it is like a primate type cast. Okay. Some kind of a primate. So, all right. So I just wanted to acknowledge Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum tonight. And also, this is just a really sad day, y'all. It's the anniversary of 9/11 and all that. So, okay, so I'm going to cheer you guys up tonight. Okay, if I can. We're going to work on this, and we have a fantastic, I was going to say a group of remote viewing targets tonight to go over with our good friend Barry Littleton. Barry is here. He's given me 3 blind targets. One of them I've actually remote viewed before. We got some additional data from this one, actually. It's the 3-eye atlas. Okay, we're going to be talking about that tonight. We got some good data a few weeks ago, actually, and did a show on that. I believe Gerald and Jane from Midwest Night Watchers were on here with me. Since then, this thing has changed. It's morphed. Got some more information on it, and the data is alarming. That's all I'm going to say, y'all. It's alarming. We're going to get to that one in just a minute. That's my 3rd target tonight. And so we have 2 targets before that. And if you guys would like to follow along with all of my data, let me get that ticker up. Please go to my YouTube channel, my Patreon, please. That's the cryptidhuntress.com. And all of my data is posted on Patreon right now with all the pictures I'm going to show tonight. I don't know if I got all the pictures, but I got most of them on my Patreon that I'll be showing tonight. And like I said, there are 3 targets. That's a lot of targets for tonight, y'all. And Barry came on with me yesterday on the show, and you know that we're going to connect some major dots tonight, and we are going to discuss what this 3-eye atlas is at the moment. It's wild, and we're going to compare and contrast the data that I got last time. I'm a little upset about it, a little bit. Okay. And I guess you guys could have seen my reaction when Barry revealed the target yesterday on the show. I was like, oh, that's concerning. Very concerning. Okay. So y'all hold on to your seats. We have a wild rabbit hole to go down tonight, and we are ready to do it. It's a lot of data tonight. And so I'm sending all my love and light out to you guys tonight. Please lift, like I said, Dr. Meldrum's family up in prayer. And of course, just like I always say, y'all, please keep your head on a swivel and always be aware. Don't live in fear. Okay. We just have a lot going on in our world right now. Okay. A lot going on. And so we're going to try to ease your minds tonight. And, like I said, ease your minds till we get to that 3-eye atlas target. Okay. So, but I love each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for all your support and for being here with me every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Okay. And, all right, let's see. let's go ahead and get on with our show tonight. Okay. If you guys would like to support my work, of course, go over to my website, thecryptidhuntress.com, and I have a shop over on Etsy. You can find all that information over there on my website. Okay, let's get to it. I guess I'll go through like each of these targets before I bring Barry up, because the number one target, the first target we're going to go over is the exoplanet Tau Ceti, so Tau Ceti E. And Barry wanted to see if it had possible connections to Mars. The second target is Elysium Quadrangle. The Elysium Quadrangle. Elysium has come up in another target prior to this. Elysium was actually in the data for the Kandahar Giant in Afghanistan. So we're going to maybe make some connections to that tonight. But this is on Mars. It's also called MC15. That's my second target. The third target is 3I Atlas. Barry says it will come within 18 million miles of Mars, much closer than Earth. When it's that close to the red planet, it will be completely invisible to us on Earth. Okay. Well, how about I just bring Barry up instead of going through all of this information on all of these? Y'all know about 3I Atlas. We're going to talk about these other ones as soon as I bring Barry up. Barry is an amazing researcher, and he and I do a lot of work together here. He gives me, I trust him to give me amazing targets to look into as far as the coordinate remote viewing goes. And tonight is no different. Please help me welcome to the show my good friend Barry Littleton, who you can find on his website or his YouTube channel and his Patreon. It's called Barry Littleton. What's up, Barry?
Oh, goodness, I do have a website. It just sucks. Hey, what's up? What's up, Jessica? I hope your audience doesn't get burned out on me 2 days in a row. Hello to everybody in the audience. Hopefully this will be a real interesting one. You know, my condolences to the family of Dr. Meldrum also. That was horrible. Yeah. You know, somebody else passed. Yeah. It was Polly, was it Polly Hendricks? Is that her name? But she played on that show, Alice Flo. Kiss My Grits.
Oh yeah. Flo, I love grits. I love that saying. I used to love Alice. Mel's Diner. That was called Mel's Diner, Alice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, she passed. She also played
Kiss
in
My
Gremlins,
Grits.
Mrs. Deagle. Miss Deagle in the original Gremlins. That was her too. I just figured that out actually today. Man. I didn't realize that was her after all these years. Man. But yeah, that was old Flo. Anyway,
I say that. Listen, I say that. Okay, so my two favorite sayings are like not saying cuss words, because I like, you know, when I'm not on camera, I will say a cuss word occasionally. Okay, but it's bless his heart and kiss my grits. Okay, those are my two Southern sayings. Okay, and kiss my grits came from Flo out of Mel's Diner. So R.I.P. to her too. I know, man, it's wild. Like this has been, I don't know if it's just like the energy of the universe right now or what's going on, but we're having like, you know, we just went through that 9/9 portal, September the 9th. And I knew that we were going to be in for a lot of endings. Okay. But it seems like it has been like, it's just amplified.
Well, you can feel the psychokinetic energy of 9/11 too.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's probably not a one of us right now in this chat or anywhere that doesn't remember what they were doing that day when they found out what happened.
Yes.
Let alone if you had somebody you lost, you know?
That's right. I remember where I was. I was in college at Georgia State University. And I was running late because I turned my TV on that morning, getting ready for class. I was working full time at the time too, but I had class in the mornings. And I went in, and I remember going into my English class. I got there late because I couldn't take my eyes off my TV at home. And I walked into my class, and the class had the TV on, watching it too. And so we all were trying to process it together, and it was really tough. Really tough. And I got to tell you, even that day, I know this is terrible, but like, even that day, we were a class full of conspiracy theorists. And we were like, oh, you know, questioning everything, but also being very, very saddened by what was going on that day. So, yeah, we're feeling it even today. We are, for sure. Yeah,
it's a tragedy, just somebody had sent me it's a picture. It was a video of that guy just got shot. Whatever Charlie he was, political dude. Yeah, I mean, And there's some people that were actually laughing about that and saying he deserved. I don't care what your view is, man. No one deserves it. The video was horrible.
Right.
It was horrible. It was no movie. You know what I mean? And it's just, and it's a shame. It shows a lot about where the morphogenic field of humanity is right now. And I'm really hoping that that's what's changing right now, and that, we're seeing things, and this that we're dealing with here, this whole Mars things has come up, repeated times with me. That's why we're dealing with it,
Mm-hmm.
But it shows very much what, ultimately what we're dealing with is also what might be the enslavement of the human race just before we become a type 1 civilization.
Oh, is that what's bound to happen? The enslavement and then type 1?
Well, I think that's what we're seeing. I mean, it's you've seen a more advanced civilization that was enslaved that you thought was here. Am I wrong on that?
That was on TRAPPIST-1 star system and the brown dwarf planets.
You saw the energy field there.
Oh yeah, well, it was
the monitoring of the time bomb, the ticking time bomb, which is Earth. Yeah, that was one. Another of these other targets is disconcerting. Some of this data that comes up. This one right here, I mean, I wasn't the third one. I think is the most alarming one, and the one I wish I could just say, "Oh no, erase that," but you can't do it. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. But yeah.
I am okay. So I prefaced the show today in the intro by saying it's very alarming with the data, and I hate to say that. I'm not trying to keep people waiting or on the edge of their seats giving breadcrumbs, but we're going to have to do that tonight because it is the third target. So we're going to do them in succession. Okay, and so the 3i Atlas, I think to me, that's the one that's headed towards Earth. Okay, and I'm not saying it's any more important than the other ones, but it's the one that would affect us in the 3D potentially, right? They may all affect us in the 3D.
Within 600 million miles of us, it's not going to be that close. But
I don't know.
It's going to be much closer to Mars, and and so much has come up with Mars right now. Even I just sent you today, Earth Files. They put out just today. It was talking about Elon Musk and how they're trying to terraform Mars and how far are they doing the project. I think they're way far in it. But the fact is that they're doing it right now, how they're doing it and how they're terraforming it, or what they're going to initiate as a second wave, or shall I say the second campaign of terraforming that place is even more terraforming, and it's affecting people that we know. You've had some of your guests on here that are describing exactly that whole digital twin thing. That's real stuff. It's not just conspiracy. That's why I kind of go for more the science that is more transparent. Then we can go more into fantasy. You know what I mean? But I got to have some sort of basis and foundation for the information. That's just based on being a contactee, because as well as I do, just that is so freaking weird anyway. You don't even got to make nothing up. You know what I mean? Anyway.
You don't. I know. Listen, reality is way weirder than science fiction. Okay. And and for the normies, I don't know. I mean, I tell you what, like if anybody were to, and I'm sure there have been plenty of people who have heard me and all my experiences and my account, and yours too. I'm sure they heard it and they're like, these people are absolutely nuts. Okay. But that's my reality. That's your reality. Okay. So yeah.
Well, reality is real for this perceiver. And what's becoming more and more apparent now is that the entire contact phenomenon and the cryptid phenomenon too is a conscious experience. That's what they are. And we're trying to get away from that to be more materialist, nut and bolts, but it's hard. A lot of this is consciousness involved, perception.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
So just to tie this together for everybody, and this isn't going to be one of these deals where I talk very much because there's so much data. I think it's really imperative that you get the data out. But I mentioned also that maybe you could go over the Cydonia stuff too, because this all connects. And although the Mars, I know it's a strange name, Elysium Quadrangle, MC15, is not Cydonia. It's far away from Cydonia on that planet. But there are reasons why I decided to give that one to you as a target, and we'll talk about that when we get to it and everything. But just so everybody knows, so all this revolves around Mars, and the fact that Atlas 31 is going to be that close to Mars, and the fact we won't be able to see it during that time. All this is connected together, and I think what you found out in Cydonia is important, and just kind of rehashing some of that information. And I advise everybody to please go back on our channel and check out the show we did probably about not even a month ago over Cydonia.
Yes.
And it was remote. Yeah.
It was a remote viewing show, and let's see, what was the date on it? I've got it's August the 7th, I think. It was around August the 7th. So it was the beginning of last month. We did this show. and I guess I probably need to pull up some kind of, I'll probably share my screen. We'll show some pictures of that later tonight. But yeah, you gave me some great targets. Great targets for tonight. Yeah, I'm super excited about these.
I appreciate you. There's a lot of work. I appreciate you doing it, you know.
Well, of course. Of course. Well, why don't we just start going over them? I mean, because we have a lot to discuss tonight. Let's just do that. Let's just get into it.
Cool.
Okay, let's get into it. Now, the first target is the exoplanet Tau. It's Tau Ceti, Tauceti E. Now, it makes a difference because there's more than just Tau Ceti, right? There's like different habitable. These are habitable planets. That means that there's water there, oxygen. It's where humans can live, right, Barry? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah. There are actually two planets within quote unquote the Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone, and that's E and F. And for this reason, not just as this exoplanet, it's amazing to me because after certain things were said about Tau Ceti, E, and F, all of a sudden they say, oh, maybe there might not be in the Goldilocks zone now. And I'll tell you, I think what that comes from. You have an individual, Dr. Malachi York, and he talks a lot about, I guess he's still alive, he talked a lot about, one, the inner Earth civilizations, particularly the Ebenoid tribes, so or what they're called now, breakaway civilizations, I think is the hip term now. But they were like the Jacob and others that he talked about, and also beings from another place that was Rise Q, I think it is. And he talks about melanated extraterrestrials a lot. And in this situation, there was one he had done, and I assume it's a channeling, and I sent it to you, so you saw it. It's being, that calls itself Momar, and claims to be from Tau Ceti E. And Tau Ceti E is closer to the star Tau Ceti, and he says that they're melanated. And then on Tau Ceti F, they have beings that look more non-melanated. It's further out, more that are connected to look similar to ones from Zeta Reticuli. Okay, and on that, it's interesting because they say Moors, and that they went from Tau Ceti. They sent colonies that colonized Mars. And that being there is represented by, like in our entertainment, by Marvin the Martian. Okay, so that's not the first time I've heard of the black melanated thing going on Mars. And some people get mad when I talk about that, but it's important because we don't hear about that. You can right now go to AI and say tall whites, and you'll get so much information that it'll wipe you over. Go on there and put on tall blacks, and it'll come up with the NBA. You're not going to see nothing about extraterrestrials at all. Okay, so the fact is just that we have to start getting this out, and people understanding that there is another part of the spectrum. Okay, it's not about being racist. It's not about forcing upon people. It's about us becoming a type 1 civilization. We have to acknowledge that there are other races out there, especially if we want other contactees to come forward. And Jessica, since I came forward in 2014, I've seen it change. There are more integration going on, but we need more still. It's not nearly to where it should be. Anyway, point being, that's one reason, and connecting that, and I've said before when we did the Cydonia information, that I believe that face is Olmec. But when you deal with what Dr. York says there, the Tau Cetis are saying that they're connected to that area. Okay, so that's just what so that's one reason I wanted to do that. And another thing would be, and it's a picture that I can show up, but there's a sister that named Charlene Wallace and her sister Erling Wallace. They're called the UFO twins. They wrote a book called From the Mothership to the Motherland. And they said they'd been to Mars during the contact experiences, and there was a colony of melanated people there, and also melanated type grays there or something. She went into detail about that. I just came from a group actually called the Extraterrestrial Experiences of Color with the John Mack Institute that our friend Charlie does. And it's can you not hear me?
Oh, sorry. I had muted. Somehow I got muted. I don't remember doing that. Can y'all hear me?
Were you saying, shut up, Barry, shut up? Is that what you were saying?
Shut up, Barry. No, I'm just kidding. Freeze.
Oh, I've been hearing that song all day. Freeze frame. I was in the mall and I heard. I was like,
really?
What? Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Text me or something.
No, it actually, that's the group with Catherine, my cousin. There is Catherine Jones, who's in the chat sometimes. She is a good friend of mine. It's she and her son Charlie actually are part of that team, and they were out there in Las Vegas with us. It was Reno or Las Vegas. I think it was Vegas with Spaced Out Radio. And so shout out to Charlie and Catherine. They are good people. Those are my cousins. Yeah, they
really are. Charlie's really good. He's following the hearings and stuff, and it's very important. I think that a lot of us that are quote unquote disclosure follow that and what's going on and know who some of those people are and what's being discussed. It's beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, you and I covered that yesterday. Or was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. We covered the UFO that was getting shot at by the missile. I called it a Hellcat missile, but it was a Hellfire missile. Okay.
How you can see that craft exhibiting the curvature of space. By the way, it's carrying the debris with it. Perhaps even cellular adhesion or mechanical self-repairing going on too, I think. That's really something, because that thing doesn't stop cruising. It's going. You know what I mean? That's it's very interesting footage. And although I'm sure they've got much more enticing things that they're hiding, that was a good one for the public to see. Better than the TikTok, don't you think?
Oh, listen, TikTok is my trusted news source. Don't diss on TikTok.
TikTok UFO.
Yes, that actually was, they were comparing that to another UFO that was out of Afghanistan, I believe, that had some similar characteristics to it. Yeah. So I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, okay, let's get into this first target. Okay. How about this? I'm going to read. Okay. So I'm going to read a little blurb to the audience, like give us some stats on what this is. Cause you gave a wonderful description of it. Let's get into some more stats here, okay? Because this is, if that's okay.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Okay. We'll go for this. This is about the data. So
it's about the data. Okay, so before we get into the data, I want everybody to know what we're talking about here. Well, you've already explained it pretty well. We have a few other factoids here. Tau Ceti E is an intriguing exoplanet that orbits the hot inner edge of its star's inhabitable zone, sparking questions about the possibility of life. It's a super-Earth exoplanet that orbits Tau Ceti, a sunlight star just 12 light years away, in the constellation of Cetus. Is it Cetus, Barry? Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, for the whale, like whale.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's see. So it's a candidate for hosting life, and it may have the right conditions for liquid water. It has a mass about 4 times that of Earth. Okay, and so we'll show, like, this is the picture that we have of the comparisons there. And with its rocky world, it's a rocky world. It poses many questions, like, could its thicker atmosphere protect from intense stellar radiation? Could it harbor life in microenvironments? And so that is what we're going to be looking into tonight, Barry. That's what we're looking into. You gave me this as a blind coordinate remote viewing target. And I have some pretty interesting data on this. Okay. So how would you like to go about this tonight? Should I just go over the data for this, or what?
Yeah. I've already rambled enough. So you could go ahead and just be like Babe Ruth and just hit it out of the ballpark. Or what's that old movie? The Natural. You'd be the Natural. Roy Hobbs. The best ever
Okay.
played the game.
Oh my gosh.
Robert
This is
Redford.
going to be, yeah. No, this is going to be really awesome. I have a good bit of data. Let's see. Okay, I have a good bit of data. Let's just get into it. I'm going to go over the sensory data, and then we'll get into the analytic overlay. Okay.
Cool,
And then we'll get back into the comments and stuff with my audience here. I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here, to all my moderators and everybody in the live chat. We have the best live chat on the internet. Don't tell nobody. I'm just kidding.
you have a great
We really
audience.
do.
You really do. You have a great audience.
We really
nice
do.
People,
We really
and they're very sharp too.
They are. Thank you. I see Corey Cole in here. We got Gary Spikes is one of our new moderators too. Gary's in here. Gary was my guest on Saturday. And yeah, we've just got a wonderful group of moderators here tonight. Thank you so much. Those are my last two guests for the past 2 Saturday nights. So that's why I'm giving the shout out. And Cryptid. Cryptid was here the Saturday before. Okay. Okay. So here's my data. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I should pull up a picture of this thing again, or nay. We'll just pull it up briefly.
Go for it.
Tau Ceti E. Okay. It is in the habitable zone, and it potentially could hold life. My sensory data for this target is landing, automatic, flying, gliding, entrapped, snared, long, violent, incoming, and evil. That's my sensory data. Okay, and so some of my analytic overlay. The first word I wrote down is override. That's why I just said that. Okay, my analytic overlay. I kept picking up on like override switch, override button of some sort. Autopilot was in my data. Slip, slide, team, longevity, the long haul. I picked up on like intimate and intimacy, but intimacy with violence I wrote down, which is weird. Okay. And then I wrote down earthbound. I wrote down earthlings in this data. I wrote down master manipulator, crisscross religious and bad intentions. Now, to me, this makes no sense, Barry. Does any of that make any sense for what you think this target would be?
Well, immediately what I was thinking is you're picking up on their excursion to Mars, probably, or to somewhere. And it sounds almost like you're describing, and if I was going to be a Star Trek person, I would say it sounds like you're describing an away team from somewhere. You know what I mean? And let's be honest, with hostile intentions. That's pretty much what you just said. Yeah.
Violent. Yes. Yeah. Violent.
I mean, it is what it is. I wish I could say, well, since these are proposed melanated beings, they must be peaceful, but apparently that's not the deal. The data is the data. It is what it is. But everything from that seems to be negative intentions.
It did feel like that.
It's a military takeover or whatever it is or not. And you already know certain symbols we're dealing with anyway if we're connecting this to what Dr. York said.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's go to stage 4 of my data. Okay. And for the picture, my sketch, I just drew some lines with like an arrow going through it. So it was like traveling forward in some capacity, I guess. So I don't know. That was my data. That was my stage 1 through 3 on the first page. Now the second page, which is stage 4, I was hearing while I was drawing the sketch, I was hearing voices speaking over each other. And it sounded like, you've ever been like in a cafeteria or a restaurant or like a coffee shop? There's a lot of people talking and they're talking over each other. And it's just like you're at a convention or a meeting or something. And it's just a whole bunch of voices. You can't make out what they're saying, but you just hear them talking. That's what I was hearing. So a lot of people were talking. And I wrote down crowded, okay, like a crowded area, crowded space. And then I wrote down slammed, high impact point, and crater. So I was seeing a crater. And some of the other stuff I wrote down was like fully loaded, roots, something that was believable. I wrote down believable. I wrote down root work. That's like kind of like spells and stuff, I think. But I wrote down vast, wide, and open, and then aerospace. Okay, aerospace. There's a little bit of other data in there, but
Hey, go ahead and say it, because I have a question.
Yes.
You feel this place was destroyed? That
There
civilization?
was a high impact. I believe that there was a high impact that made a crater. Yes. I don't know if it was destroyed, but I did pick up on that. Is that some of the history behind it?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they decided to go from Tau Ceti to Mars. I'm not sure the full reason behind it.
Oh.
Yeah, so that may have something to do with it. I mean, it just goes a little beyond my knowledge, but it's worth investigation. And I'm sure somebody that follows Dr. York much more than I could probably excuse me, getting excited, literate on that a lot more than I.
Okay, well then that would make sense as to why I wrote down canned. It was like it was canned. It was done. It was done with. I wrote down canned.
Well, I mean, in the beginning of the data, when you're describing, like I said, in the wave team, that might be why. They're in the middle of a cataclysm. Is it like Krypton? Why they sent Kal-El here? You know what I mean? Is it doomed? It's very interesting because whatever we're seeing right now, we see that even with the James Webb telescope is going to be, how many thousands of years ago that place wouldn't be like that anymore.
Wow. Okay, now
or millions of years would it be? I don't know.
Well, now it makes more sense. The data, now that you've described that to me, it does make more sense. I actually was picking up on a crowded space that got slammed by a something of high impact that caused a crater. Like that's how the data goes. Like as I read down the page, just a crowded space that got hit by a high impact, something of high impact that made a crater there, and fully loaded. It was fully loaded with people, and they got canned. I hate to say that like that, but that's all right. Canned.
That's
how remote viewing
funny,
works.
Really, it's not funny, but
I know they got canned. So they basically got taken out. They got, deleted.
You know what's a little bit unnerving?
What's that?
Is that when we go into this Mars part, we're dealing again with what John Brandenburg said, that there's a nuclear war there, and that's what happened to that place.
Oh my!
And
gosh.
What you're describing there is this a race that destroyed their home world, then went and destroyed Mars too, or a warring faction. Food for thought. Just
man. Okay, do you remember? Okay, this is wild too, because you asked me, like, I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but you asked me, what do I think this is? And I said, well, it's the Decepticons, Transformers. I was kidding around.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And look at this comment. I want to, first of all, Amy, thank you so much for that super sticker. It means the world to me. She says, hey, Jessica. Hi, Barry. Hello, all you guys. Thank you so much for your support, Amy. I appreciate that. And we're glad you're here. And I wanted to pull this up too. Brandon said they probably went to our planet like Transformers movie. And that's exactly what I was picking up on in this target. That's what you asked me when you texted me and said, what do you think this was? And I said, it was like the Decepticons from the Transformers movie. Okay, let me continue. Okay.
Did you like the Decepticons?
I always like the bad guys. Listen, when I played dolls, I was always the bad girls. Okay. And that's just it, because I just could relate somehow, because I was a good girl, and I wanted, and so that was I was embodying my inner bad chick. I played Jim and the Misfits. Jim, I think that's what it was called. Jim and the Misfits. I was the Misfits. Okay, like I always wanted to get the Misfits dolls. Okay, so but anyways. Okay, so we're talking about aerospace. They got canned. I hate to say that. We do have, actually, Nathan is here. Hey, Nathan. He says canned is deceleration trauma. That's interesting. Deceleration trauma. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so I just wrote down canned. I don't know what that is. Okay. All right, so the next page we go to, guided. This is my sensory data. I wrote guided missile. Guided missile. And then I wrote rolling and then roll out. necessary evil is something I wrote down, a necessary evil. And then outside the box, and then I wrote down what looks like a cube that's like going around. Here's what I wrote. It was a cube. I was seeing a cube, and it was going around in all different directions. It was like, rolling this way and then rolling sideways too. It was like kind of all over the place.
Was it real big?
I don't know. I just saw a cube. And I wrote that down. I wrote down a representation of whatever I saw right there. Okay. But I wrote down outside the box, and then I was hearing alarms going off. And I wrote down it was a test. There was a test and a science experiment. And I wrote down observing, watching, and waiting, and then a real life test. And I was picking up on velocity and volume. And that's when I ended. I ended the session at that point. But if you were to ask me now, like, we're talking about the data now, and you're telling me what you think happened there. I think that it says a guided missile, something was guided there to wipe things out. That's what I think. I think something was I think that there was an outside force that guided something to whatever this is and took it all out because it was a necessary evil because something had happened there. Maybe it was like here on Earth, they talk about the giants, right? They're like the Nephilim had been here and like there had to be a flood and it wiped everything out. What if that's what happened there?
Is there more data?
No, that's it. That's the end of the session right there.
Let's go to the next target.
Okay.
Because, might as well, because what you just described so much leads into what I think happened on Mars that it's almost a mirror to where I would think, oh, maybe she's picking that up, but it's not. They're separate targets, but they're connected in that way. But what you just described, and why not? So why not just, okay, this second one, this Elysium Quadrangle.
The Quadrangle, that's a weird name.
Yeah, and this is a different area of Mars that is not Cydonia. All right, but it's got some anomalies there. One would be these appear to be pyramid structures that they're saying are volcanic. But I wonder if that's not due to the catastrophic nature of what happened. Okay, and I'm going to tell you a reason why I chose to. Yeah, that's another good one. Why? And you've got a situation of pyramids in Cydonia also. So
yes.
The reason why that I had especially chosen this one is for what this book, the Keys of Enoch book, says. Oh, that's another good picture there.
It's a crater.
Yeah, odd region. Okay, but what is said actually in this book here, this Keys of Enoch book, which I've always found a very good tool, all right? For those that have this book, I'm just going to quickly mention a couple of things in here. It's key 104, which is page 34 or 33 of this book. And on page 34, if you go to, it'll actually start 9, key 9. Enoch explained how the Brotherhood of Light established pyramids on certain planets in this solar system in relationship to Saturn, the key to the planetary table and density levels of other forms of intelligence operating within our solar system. These pyramids are built in grid formation and are connected to chronomonitors, which measure the vibrational levels of consciousness on a given planet in units of 1,000 years. Now, if I go back here and go to chronomonitors, and what this book says a chronomonitor is chronomonitors, time measuring vehicles using time and space calibrations to measure information along grids on and in planetary surfaces. This time instrument establishes the nature of the biome and the growth schedule of the various intelligences. which is saying when you're talking about implementing life forms on different planets, this is part of the system it's used for it. That's what they're kind of saying here, okay? So we could take that and kind of combine that with what the Uranta book calls life carriers and things of that nature, okay? Sorry, I'm almost done here. Going on to 11, this growth, 10. They determine when successive conscious worlds can accept physical extraterrestrial guides which nurture God level 0 growth to God level 1 status. This completing the pyramids at God level 1 status.
Whoa.
This growth can occur many times using the same planetary spirit to evolve many species for existence in innumerable worlds. Going to 12, pyramidal grids of information were established on Mars, for example, for use by artificial intelligence. They were built for the gathering of information deciphered from the magnetic lines of force attuned with thinking servo mechanisms or computers existing in our solar system.
Whoa.
Okay, the next one. These pyramids were established in grid formation so the artificial intelligence of the vehicle through simulated emissions and radiations could gather all information in short electromagnification amplification. Now listen, something I want to say when we were talking about that craft that got busted up or got that orb that got hit yesterday in that footage.
By the Hellfire missile.
Yes, exactly. And how it's grabbing the debris, and the debris is actually moving with it. Now, if this were, quote unquote, an organic craft, perhaps, like we mentioned yesterday, one thing that they would do is that these, like when you have one of those bacteria that actually breaks up, that can actually rejoin itself and has this electrical field, electrotaxis is called. It's magnetic tactic bacteria. Okay, but when it does that and it breaks apart and it starts grabbing, it goes along the magnetic lines of the Earth. So I think that's what you might be seeing that craft is doing. And that similar is being described here. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I know that's a little more than I intended to read, but I just think it's important. On those pages, you've got pictures of this quadrangle, and they're saying that's one of these areas. Now, when I look at that sketch you had made of the cube, the spinning cube, I can't help but I kept immediately picking up the stuff you looked at going around the sun, the cube around the sun.
That's right.
And you remember what was on there? They're talking about, if I were to go another page on this, they keep talking about AI in this book, artificial intelligence. This book was written in like 82. I've got a 94 copy here, but still, I think it's very, I'm not saying it's a Bible or anything, but it's very interesting. Ooh, food for thought. Anyway, so if you want to go on with the quadrangle, I just want to give that to everybody, what we're dealing with, why it was selected. Now we can go into your data. Cool?
Okay.
All right.
Shoot, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's get into the data then. Okay, so with some of the sensory data for the quadrangle, that's the first time I've ever heard of this word in my entire life. And let's see, let me pull a good picture of it up while I'm speaking. How about that? The quadrangle. How about this? This is kind of the map out of it. Okay, so I wrote down evident. This is my sensory data. Evident, running, accidental, cloaked, invisible, mechanical, ambient, liminal, luminescent, glowing, and energetic is what I wrote down. Now, some of my data for the analytic overlay includes evidence, totality, mental state, something I wrote down, run smoothly and smooth operation is what I wrote down. I wrote down accident, daily sky watch, mechanism. I was picking up on like electronics and I wrote down jet fuel, some sort of an emergency that was going on. And I kept getting this data of like a visual of like coils. Okay, so coiled and I actually, even for my picture that I drew, is coils. Okay, so that's what I was seeing, something that was coils. And I was actually seeing like those crystals, kind of like you have like the copper coiling around them. Like I was kind of seeing that.
Really? You know,
Yes.
something I didn't mention, it was the interior too. The interior,
Oh,
the
it's the
interior
interior of
hygiene.
this
It was
place.
the interior, yeah. Yeah, because we kind of know what's on the surface, but what's under there. Sorry,
Oh,
please
so it's
keep going.
under. So it's under all of this. So this is underground. Okay, that makes a big difference. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
coiled. I wrote coiled and culled. CULLED. I picked up on a porthole and a portal. So a portal in energetics. And I wrote that after like I was seeing these coils, and it was like that crystal with like the copper wiring around it, like it was big. Okay. And that's what I was picking up on energetics. And so that's my first 3 stages of my data right there so far. What do you think, Barry? Does any of it make sense?
I mean, yeah, you're describing a power source, a power complex. And if anything similar to like the crystals I had seen, you know, on the ships I'm on, that they've got the bioluminescence inside. So it takes us into these photonic crystals, or maybe even photonic quasi crystals by structure. I don't know, not an expert, but it's a whole nother thing going on as far as their chemical or bioluminescence inside. So they're able to generate a type of energy and vibration that we're not accustomed to, you know, like not here anyway. So when hearing something like that, even if it's something maybe modified for a different civilization or something, but we're still dealing with that basic piezoelectric type of technology you're describing there. You know what I mean? It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Cryptid says a quadrangle is this is the definition, y'all, is a plane figure with 4 angles and 4 sides, also known as a quadrilateral. Thank you, Cryptid. I had not heard of that before. I know what quadrilateral is, though. Okay. All right. Well, this is I went to stage 4.
I'm still trying to understand a parallelogram.
I know, right? It's the same thing. I think it's the same thing. A quadrilateral would kind of be like a parallelogram, right? Okay.
Beats me.
It could be. Okay. All right. So I just want to give an overall summary of like my last page of data. Is a bunch of solar flares and solar projections. Okay, like I kept picking up on that big time. I actually wrote down lit up, like I was seeing something that was being lit up. And I was picking up on something magical, and I wrote down abracadabra. Okay, something's magical. But I was picking up on positive protons, neutrons, electrons, positive ions. I wrote down pit position. Like what I was seeing actually was like, okay, so I used to race cars. Okay. And what I was seeing, I could not put it into words what I was seeing, but it was like when I got like that pole position. Okay, that's what it is. I wrote down pit. I meant pole position. It's like when you get the fast time on the track, like when you go the fastest around the track, when you do like you have to qualify, is what we call it. If you got the pole position, which is like the fastest qualifying time, you basically have to go to the very back. Okay, in the racing that I did, and you have to get in the back because you're going to be faster than all other cars. So it's got to give the other cars a little bit of an advantage because you're probably gonna beat them. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that was pole position. I wrote down pit position, but it was pole position. It was almost like I was seeing like things were like in order according to how fast they go. Does that make sense? I know that's weird, but that's what I was picking up on. And the fastest had to go to the back, and the slowest went to the front. Okay, so that was what I picked up on. And I wrote down first position. Okay, that had to do with that, but it was like first. So maybe it was like the slowest is what I was picking up on. Something that was slow. And but I wrote down. I drew another picture, and it was like a projection, something that was like moving forward, being like shot out. And I wrote down projected, and projection, sonar and solar flare, solar projection, energy disruptors. I wrote down energy disruptors. I wrote down disruptions and blocked energy. And that's what I wrote down. That was that. I ended the session there. I was like, this is weird. my brain was hurting because I couldn't come up with pole position. I was like, all right. I don't.
Hey, two last things. Solar energy. What were the last three things? Sorry.
Solar flare.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote sonar, solar, projected and projection, solar flare, solar projection, energy disruptors, disruptions, and blocked energy. And blocked. I was picking up on something that was blocked. That was part of my sensory data.
Now let me ask you a question. So this is the first time of these two targets I've heard you have mentioning a couple of positive things. So let's kind of try to grasp for straws a little bit here.
Okay.
So did you feel that this complex was positive or negative? You said positive with positive ions, but some other things you said that were sorry.
Well, you know what? When it comes down to it, like energetically, I was just picked up on. I actually wrote down my sensory data was positive. Okay, and so it was like positive. So, but then I went down the AOL superhighway, as we call it. Okay, kind of like positive, like protons, neutrons, electrons, positive ions. I mean, I didn't think it was negative. There was nothing really negative about this.
Well, you know, combining with what you just said, your data, with what I read on this, okay? And given that this was supposed to be, quote unquote, I hate this term, but the white hats, you know what I mean? In terms of this is supposed to be the Brotherhood of Light that did this complex, even though it was mostly artificial intelligence, the whole complex was.
Oh.
Okay,
wow.
okay. At least that's what it says in here. And I couldn't find the exact key, but there's one that describes how this area and the areas on Mars are like 10 times the area of Egypt and that structure there. Okay. Or like 5. They give exact specific way of how much bigger it is and how many more structures are there. Anyway,
Whoa, you know, Barry, I gotta say too, like on the second page, I actually drew more like coils too. Like I just kept picking up on this, like this coil action, like something. And it's interesting because like Dawn in the chat and Urso, they're saying coils like under the pyramids in Egypt and elsewhere. That's what they're picking up on. Yes, there's coils underneath there.
Now here's the thing. Taking this to another level, and I'll try to bring the big. You might still have the picture with your deal. The picture that Brandenburg wrote, John Brandenburg, that he wrote about Mars, The Death on Mars is the name of the book. Okay. Anyway, I've got it over here. Maybe I can pull it up over here if you can. So anyway, but what he says is, and to be exact, okay, he says that he's a theoretical plasma physicist, but he said that there's xenon-129 isotopes from a thermonuclear explosions on very high levels on Mars. And the surface has radionuclides that are radioactive, almost thorium and uranium. Okay, more signs of this. And he believed that the face was remnants of this. And this also accounts for the red hue that this planet has also. So that, you know, but he went on a whole lot about that xenon-129. Now, if what we're dealing with is a war there, why was there a nuclear war there? And as he describes it, it's described what you described. It came from, they were obliterated from space. This thing was initiated from space down upon them. Okay. And if we're dealing with these Moors through these Tau, I don't want to say that word, these Tau Cetians, or however you want to say it. Yes, right there. Yeah. We're dealing with them. And then we're dealing with the Brotherhood of Light too.
Who, by the way, he wears a hat like my papa wore. Okay.
And you scrape. Yeah, you mentioned that.
My granddad. Papa is a word down here in the South. Okay. But go ahead. Sorry.
It's all right. You disrupted me brilliant thoughts here.
Oh my God. I know. Well, I got stuck on that hat.
Pawpaws and meeballs and anyway,
Pawpaw. That's right. Kiss my grits, Barry.
But looking at who may have been at war there, you know what I mean? Is that what caused the thermonuclear war there to a degree, or whatever happened? Was it these people from the Cydonia region against the people that built the quadrangle? You know what I mean? And you were describing them when they described this thing working. You were describing in the data that being stopped and being blocked in that whole area.
Energy.
And then it was destroyed, and that's why it's volcanic now when it was actually pyramidal before, because I've read other things that describes it as being almost like, kind of like how Mount Adams is right there, and you've got Mount Rainier and all those volcanoes right there, but there's industrial things there too. You know what I'm saying? That's something like that on Mars. And
I literally wrote down disruption, not eruptions, but disruptions in blocked energy. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's very well done on that. You know what I mean? That's why I wanted to see what you got from that. For all I know, it could have been if what they're saying is correct, you'd have picked up nothing but lava.
Yeah, right.
You've been down there dealing with a bunch of lava, and lava tunnels and stuff. If something else went on there long ago, and there's still something going on there now underneath there. So, but anyway, well done on that.
It would seem that way. Well, thank you. See, none of this makes any sense to me. I'm just channeling the information, and I'm so glad that you can actually, correlate like whatever the data is to the information that you have. I love that. I love it. Yeah. And you know what? I used to get nervous when I would like do a target and you'd reveal something like on air and I didn't know what it was, but now I don't care. I just like the data is the data. Okay. The data is the data. And if it doesn't align, it doesn't. But usually like, I'm going to say like 90+% of the time, the data aligns with what your target is.
Oh, very often.
That's wild, y'all. I just want to tell you as a remote viewer, the odds are freaking amazing with this. Just saying. And I hope you guys can see, like Barry and I don't really discuss this very much before we go live. Just so y'all know.
Yeah.
Right, Barry? We really don't. No. We don't talk about any of it. Okay. No, like this is like authentic remote viewing with a tasker and the person doing the data. Okay. And you guys get to see it all live right here. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people doing this right now. I don't know. I don't watch YouTube too much. Okay. But I do watch YouTube. I just don't have time, but anyways, y'all know what I mean. Okay. All right. Should we go to the third one yet? Or should we just let's really go over this one some more?
Yeah, sir. I was trying to.
What do you think?
I was trying to share this screen and do something incredible here.
Let's do it.
Maybe it'll work.
Do it. I want to say, okay, so Nathan always has the best comments.
Can you see that?
No, not yet. Go to present or invite and then share your screen. And then I'll pull it up. He says Xenon 129 isotope only comes from one source, artificial fission events, fast neutron, a bomb. So maybe there's some bombs going off. Okay. There are people who do believe that they have lived past lives on Mars and they had to evacuate to come here to Earth at some point. And it's almost like, this is really sad if you think about it. Cause it's like, what if, people are just hopping from planet to planet, nuclear war breaks out or whatever. Maybe that's why all these ETs, Barry, you said yesterday on that show that I get real emotional when you give me these like ET orb targets and I make contact with like the Galactic Federation. I make contact with Source, Energy, who is putting out these crop circles and things like that. I get really emotional about it. Well, they're always giving us messages of like, hey, we know you're tired. We're here to help. The ETs are telling the kids in these schoolyards, don't let nuclear war happen, like protect your planet. It's always messages of like support. You know what I mean?
Can you see that?
Yes. Oh yeah, let me take that down.
Okay, sorry, that probably sucks as a demonstration, but I just want everybody to be able to see that. But by the way, yeah, but that's actually genius you saying that, because it does come back around to this ultimately, doesn't it?
It does.
And a lot of people always said is what's going to happen here was what happened on Mars.
Yeah, I think it's happened on other planets.
You have factions that are trying to prevent that. Cool. So anyway, that's the book by John Brandenburg. He's wrote others, but that's the one specifically that deals with the war on Mars and what the scientist in the chat just said too. The fission and the different things that come from Xenon 129, the isotopes,
yes.
and also the radioactive uranium and radioactive thorium also. So those are things there. Okay, I'm gonna pull this down now.
Amazing.
I think.
Okay, I'll take it down.
Okay, cool.
I got you, Barry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you know, see, my afflictions and limitations present themselves quickly, don't they? Anyway.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You know, I wanted to bring up this comment from Cryptid. Thank you, Mark. He says that could be why some of these artists and billionaires talk so much about getting off planet Earth to live elsewhere in the universe. And there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about Mars being colonized with humans. And how Elon Musk is like colonizing Venus and Mars.
And that takes us into the digital twins. That takes us into this SSP thing, the people that are having these two cells and that they're being downloaded in these digital twins and being used to colonize and terraform Mars. And therefore it'll make a civilization like this one, but it's these digital twins that make it suitable for, I guess, when real people go there. But it's ruining people's lives in the interim. Putting people's in these different programs and having these surface memories and these incubated, targeted dreams and turning the dreams into memories, the memories into reality. I mean, they're really messing with people, trying to put Google into a brain. What?
Brain chips. Is that Neuralink? Is that what they call it? I don't know.
Yeah, even beyond that, there's that one. Yeah, I think they're doing it. But there's that other company I did a video about, but they're trying to actually map it into a physical android brain thing. I mean, yeah, that would be really creepy. That'd be Skynet on the next level there. Anyway.
Yes. Well, that's what, you know what, that's what, well, I did have our team here last Thursday, and we were talking about some kind of we were talking about like brain, what do you call it? Consciousness transfer. Okay. And that kind of technology. Now it's interesting. We were talking about that. And then I think this digital twin stuff is very relevant, by the way. Yes. And I think that is what's going on with a lot of these cases, actually. And it's, man.
And if you look the way that they can transfer consciousness from a human body into a digital twin, most of the ways are ways that don't destroy the human body or fully destroy the consciousness either. So it's exactly what people like Archimedes are describing. You know what I mean? I find that fascinating. And it goes into, do they do it multiple times? Is there more than one digital twin that they give these people? Which is, to me, probably similar to torture, I would call that. Wouldn't you? That's torture.
It's torture. That's for sure. Yeah. It's really sad. I know that we try to bring a positive light to a lot of this stuff, but there's a lot of just, I try to bring a positive light. I try to bring a positive light. You always reiterate how dark it is.
I try too. I mean, it's like we have to deal with the facts, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
The data is the data. It speaks for itself. You know, something else I wanted to throw in there also, which is when dealing with the situation of, you know, what would be often we hear about insectoids on Mars. And I've shown some pictures before, like Antonia gave me some other people that the insectoids they said that they've seen on Mars. But we know also there's humanoid factions there too. There have been anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe you have 3 primary species there, you know, because we start going into like the Olmecs and things like that, or also the book that I mentioned before during the other remote viewing show. And these are books I really advise people to check out. The Cydonia Codex, that's a killer book, and also the Mars Codex. Both those gentlemen that wrote those, they're taking things like, you know, there's so many Mayan temples and Aztec temples. They're taking certain masks, like the feline mask, the Venus mask, and they're actually correlating it with the face on Mars and other structures seen on Mars. The Codex is really good. So again, interests me because it takes us into melanin dominant species again, and we just don't hear enough about that. And the fact that that's involved with Mars a lot, I think, is somewhat important. There's things we need to hear as standard as we hear about Fabio and Kevin Sorbio. Well, that's who those Pleiadians look like. A lot of them. There's some
good aliens, man. Valiant Thor. Yeah.
Man, before we started becoming friends, that's years ago. People got so mad at me. I thought it was just a joke, but I put up this thing that was the Fabio workout. It was like 1991. Where he's going like that with his hair, and going
Oh,
like
he's
that
so
every time he
good.
works
Yeah,
out.
he's
And I
handsome.
put up, I said, hey, I just did the Pleiadian workout this morning. Man, people got mad. Barry, that's not funny. Some of them have black hair. I was like, whoa, black hair? It was just a joke, but one of my jokes that did go over good.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
Yeah.
there's a
Anyway.
variety of people living on other planets, but you know it's
Yeah.
interesting because a lot of times when I'm doing these targets you give me, I'm seeing humans of all races and everything there, and I write down like you just like humans and humanoid, so it's like just a variety of humans living amongst people who don't look quite human, but they are.
Or in the case of the pyramids, a variety of different ethnicity
Giants.
of giants.
That's right.
Yeah, you were
That's
seeing
right.
all sorts of different kind of ethnicities of giants building those pyramids.
I was.
Big
I
ones
was.
too. Yeah, I thought that's fascinating. So
Yes.
and that's important. Just like for example, it's the Raven tribe that has some of those artifacts that are saying that that actually the Pleiadians, they're here from the Pleiadians, and the first Pleiadians here look just like them. And those Aboriginals are extremely melanin dominant, extremely. So that means the first Pleiadians here were extremely melanin dominant. We never hear about that though. You know what I mean? So it's just us talking about it now and getting everybody aware to it, just being aware of it changes things. That's
Mhm.
why I emphasize it sometimes. I've been criticized before for not talking about it all the time, but I'm not going to do that. It's a matter of just bringing people's awareness, and the consciousness goes on. And it's like when Odo cured the Great Link, it went out. anyway, sorry. But
Well, you know
so
what? I actually, I've spent a lot of time up in Cherokee, North Carolina with Chief David Webb. He's passed away recently. I don't know how recently. I just found out recently that he died. I don't know how long ago he passed away, but about 13 plus years ago, I went up and spent a lot of time with him up in Cherokee, North Carolina. And he was a medicine man he's the guy who called in the skyships over cachers over where we were camping over the weekend, and so much more. But he said that he came from the stars. His people come from the stars. And the more that I've kind of like looked into it since then, I believe that he's referring to the Palladians, Barry. And we're talking about like indigenous people of southeastern United States here, South Carolina or North Carolina. I believe that he had a connection. He had a connection to whatever those skyships were connected to, because he called them in immediately. As soon as he said he was going to do it, he did it. And there's some kind of
talk
connection.
about
I
the
think it
bird
was a
tribes.
Palladians.
Did you ever hear him mention the bird tribes?
I don't think we had a conversation about that.
Right on. Yeah, it's very interesting. And that's something else. We so often hear just about our local cluster, in Milky Way here. Like for example, Arcturus, Pleiadians. Those are the ones we hear about all the time. Lyrians, all those ones we hear about all the time. And I almost want to ask people, when did the Lyrians suddenly just become cat beings? When did that happen?
I thought they
I'm
were
just wondering
always
because
cats.
this woman, no one
Are they
talked
not?
about Lyra until this woman wrote this book, probably about 90. Alyssa Royale, Prism of Lyra. No one talked about that place before that. And now all of a sudden it's the cat beings. Anytime you see cat beings represented, somebody told me, on the Thundercats, Thundera was in Lyra. No, it was not. Yeah, it was the other side of a black hole. But that's not the point. Just point being, I'm saying that some of these things that we get are so generic, and it becomes a little bit generic in that way. Like, when's the last time you heard about beings from Cassiopeia or beings from Virgo, the Sombrero Galaxy? See,
The
these are
Sombrero
things that
Galaxy, like that.
it looks like a sombrero. It's actually in Virgo. It's a beautiful galaxy, huge.
Okay.
But we just don't hear much about extragalactic communications as much as what we should when you really are dealing with these federations, these alliances. That's why I couldn't find out where any of these beings I was dealing with were coming from. What they were telling me and stuff I wasn't hearing Pleiadian stuff like that. They're almost talking like Borg, Sector 44 or 54, stuff like that. Weird ways, stuff I couldn't understand. Charged vacuum embodiments and stuff like that. What charged What? Talking about black holes to a different way. Stuff like that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
That's wild, Barry. I thought Alderians were cat people. That's just what I thought. I don't know. Shows you what I know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering when that happened. I'm not saying that it's not a bunch of Lyrians there that are cats. I don't know, but I just wonder when it just suddenly just became that, though. I mean, suddenly it's like that's the deal. You show a picture of a cat being, oh, Lyrians. It's like, man, and I think that actually you've got a colony of cat beings that are around in Cassiopeia. There's what you call, it's one of those rogue planets. People should pay close attention to those rogue planets. You want to talk about somewhere that might be terraformed.
Uh-oh.
Even on Deep Space Nine, the Changelings got themselves a rogue planet that they were living on to deceive everyone. Anyway, just food for thought, okay? But that's just things we don't hear so much. We hear stuff we hear is so cookie cutter. And like for example, the beings, I didn't know where the heck they were coming from. And I ask. They're answering my questions. Go 600 billion light years out. What the hell does that mean? Beyond the space-time continuum. What does that mean? What's beyond the space-time continuum? What are these other universes that are formed out of entropy of this universe? This isn't a totally closed system. It's expanding. And as it expands, some of that energy in entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, is going out of this universe and making other ones that don't already exist. We got to deal with bubble theory too. Great. Anyway, let's go. I'm getting carried away. Let's go to the third target so I can settle down and just get back on target.
Simmer down now, Barry. Simmer down.
Yeah, well, I mean, oh no, please don't say that. That's not happening.
It happened yesterday. We kept freezing y'all. If you missed that, y'all go back and watch it.
Don't you hex me?
That was funny. Every time you would your internet would freeze, I'd be like, freeze, unfreeze. It was fun. Oh man. I just want to say a huge thank you to Larry Sharp. I love me some Larry Sharp. He's based out of Alabama. One of my Bigfooting buddies. Member for 17 months. I didn't even know I had my hunt club around for 17 months. That is so cool. Thank you for you're one of my OGs, Larry. Thank you so much. Barry, you know that Larry called in to Coast AM when I was there with George Norrie that night, and was one of the call-ins. Yeah, thank you, Larry.
That's cool. I know. I don't even know when I was on there. I can't remember if they even got to any calls. I can't remember now. It's so odd being on there. It's not like any interview I've ever done. You spend most of the time in commercial. Yeah, you're mostly in commercials, sitting up there waiting, hoping that the line doesn't drop or something. That's
you gotta wonder, how did all those time travelers and everybody call in back in the day? They didn't have that many commercials back then. I don't know.
You know what it was? Art Bell did he did the wild card line. He would just answer. If you could get through, I called in there, he answered. It hung up on me pretty quick because I didn't. Yeah. But it was fun. I got at least a minute on there. Anyway,
I mean that's just paranormal royalty right there. Okay, and but yeah, well, Larry Sharp got in on that call. Him and Drewski, actually, my friend, and that was awesome. So thank you. Shout out to Larry. Thank you for being here, Larry.
Still can't remember the three guys I met at the conference in Cocoa Beach, where you gave me. They gave me the video, this video, I think. Who are those guys?
That's my video. Oh my gosh, Barry. Stop it. I have one right here.
Okay. Who are you with when you gave this to me? You're with your teammates. There's two of them.
I was with Keith. Keith, yes. If you guys want one of these videos, you can get one on my website. Okay, the proceeds go towards my team. Okay, by the way, if anybody wants one of these, I know there's a couple people in the chat that have bought these. Actually, this is a amazing video. Barry, I didn't know you had one. I forgot.
I got to be honest. My other computer fried, and I've never been able to watch it yet. I don't have a CD player, but I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna watch it. Okay, yeah. It's sitting up here with my old Patty Greer crop circles deal.
Oh my
Patty
gosh,
doesn't like me. She doesn't like me, so we'll put that one back here. Anyway,
this took a long time. Listen, the guys on my team spend a lot of time on this, and it's all about animal and human tracking. It's really for Bigfoot research, but it's called Sasquatch Field Research Series Tracking #1. And if you guys want one, go to thecryptidhuntress.com, go to the shop. I think it's like $20. I think it includes shipping if you're in the United States. And,
those guys are really nice. They're really nice guys.
They're amazing. Keith, I went Bigfooting with Keith 2 weeks ago. So yeah, he's one of the main guys that made that. You can also find out how to use a camping toilet. Just saying, there's all sorts of stuff in there. We joke about that a lot. Okay, but anyways, yes, I was on Coast to Coast, Inez, for sure. I was on there. Was that about last year? I think it was about a year or two ago. I was on there with George.
That long was it?
It was about a year ago.
About
a year ago. It was amazing, y'all. It was so
I was
good.
I was on there like 5 years ago, man. It was before COVID. Yeah, it was before COVID.
That was before I was even public. You were on Coast to Coast. Yeah.
People say, I know you were on there. I said, well, it was. It didn't seem like it was. The interview sounds long, but I swear it's only like 15 minutes without commercials, man. Anyway, yeah.
The commercials.
I'll say something before we get to this third target. Let me just say, this is the one I bit off a little more than I could chew. And the bottom line is, I'm just tired of hearing about it. It's worse than a Oumuamua, which did nothing and meant nothing, okay?
Atlas.
And I really I couldn't get hooked on it until I heard Brandenburg saying that it was going to come, like I mentioned earlier, within 18 million. Well, it's 18 million miles from Mars. Much closer to Mars than it's going to be to us. But during that time, when it's that close, that perigee, it's going to be invisible to us from a certain amount of time. And with the sun glare and other reasons. And I swear, if you were going to have something come in here that was an orchestrated flight path, that's a good one. You want to avoid an aware civilization? That would be right. And the fact that when it's that close to Mars, we won't know what it's doing. So if it was something like a Bracewell probe, which is activating other probes, or a Van Neumann probe, Notchen probes that is replicating other ones too, or a Berserker probe even, which is destruction. Okay, Berserker, like Berserk, like the Berserker Predator.
Yeah, like the Berserkers. We talk about the Viking Berserkers. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's great. But yeah,
it's kind of a gray area between the Berserkers and the Skinwalkers. So
really,
yes.
I'm not familiar with the Berserkers and Cryptid wise, but
Well, they're mostly just men on psychedelic mushrooms and stuff that go out and just go kill everything. Okay, in battle. That's all. That's the Vikings. I'm a Viking.
Whoa, mushrooms. Right? What, are you sure they're on mushrooms?
I don't know. Something.
It sounds like PCP to me,
they're
man.
On something. We're talking about
when I was younger and I ate some mushrooms,
Gary.
I didn't want to go out and say, hey, I just ate some really good magic mushrooms. Let me go out and kill a bunch of people. It just didn't. It wasn't that type of vibe at all, man. It's kind of the people that smoke some really, really good herb. They're laid back, man. They're not trying to go out and jack somebody. You know what I mean? We're worried about the hostess and the donuts.
Oh, so no.
It is what it is, the Skittles.
Oh, my gosh.
The Skittles, which coincidentally, each one of them tastes exactly the same. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah,
I did not.
It's scientifically proven. Yeah,
better.
It's your imagination. It's the smell, the eyesight, and the aroma, but the taste is actually the same. Blindfold your son and have him test him on like 20 of them. I bet he gets them all wrong almost. Oh, that's a green one.
Gosh.
It'd be a red one. No, it can't be. You can't see it. That's part of the deal.
Well, I've actually been training him in psychic abilities and stuff. And so hopefully he could tell the difference between the color, because it wouldn't be by taste. It would be by intuition.
You got some Zyder cards?
That's a whole other ball game.
You got some Zyder cards?
No, but I need to get some. I need to get some.
Those are always fun.
We should all do that with our kids. Yeah.
I never reproduced.
Yeah. Well, I got one. He's enough, man. He's enough. He's a good kid.
At least none that are here on Earth anyway. So, anyway,
I'll let you babysit anytime, Barry. You want to babysit? Come on over.
I've been far away for that. You had to do it by Skype. The bee on Skype. my babysitter's on Skype. I tell them, hey, kid, just play the games. Anyway, so this third target though, but I'll just try to get serious for a minute. It was a little bit alarming the data you got out of it. And I figured it wouldn't. I thought you wouldn't get much from it, to be honest. But I wanted to know, so I was focusing on exactly when it was those coordinates were for when it's invisible to us and closest to Mars. So that's what you're looking at, what you saw at that point.
Well, okay. Well, we had done a remote viewing target on this about a month ago, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can pull it up on my.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had done that. I didn't see that show, or I wouldn't have given you that as a target. But maybe it's a good thing anyway, you know.
Let's see. I'm pulling it up on my other computer right here. Yes, we did. The remote viewing 3i Atlas, and this was back July the 31st. Actually, was when I posted that. So that would have been that day. And let's see. I've got the data right here beside me somewhere. I have a lot of targets over here. I get confused. Okay, and let's see. So why don't we go back? Let's go revisit this target right quick before we get into the new data. Okay.
Cool.
So this was a target from the end of July. We are in September now. This is when it first got on the radar. Okay, this is around the time it first got on. It was like the first week or two that Avi Loeb had come out. He was a scientist, an astrophysicist out of Harvard, had come out and said that there was a hostile alien craft headed towards Earth. It was going to end up by the sun, I think he said. Okay, things have changed since then, Barry. Okay, things have changed a little bit. But let me go over some of this data. So it was like the first thing I wrote down was Black Fleet or Dark Fleet. Between worlds, Dark Fleet. And I was picking up on a menace to society, corruption, infringe upon, order out of chaos, mile for mile, Optimus Prime. Remember we talked about Decepticons earlier. Remember with that target. Optimus Prime was in this one. Optimus Prime is actually a good guy.
Only good guy I liked, actually. I like.
He's
Prime.
A good guy. He is a good. But that could be like robotic, transhumanist kind of stuff, or AI. Tangible and tangible assets, close range. I wrote down, closed range, and the hand that feeds you is what I wrote down. I actually drew a picture of what looks like could be the actual comet. They're calling it a comet now, Barry. But I wrote, let's see, sharp pointed groups and masses are worried and fearful about it, sick and nauseated was I was feeling, ominous, far and wide, congregate, conform, mind wipe was one of the things I wrote down, a takeover, and I wrote down Genghis Khan, which is wild. And that's when we started looking into Genghis Khan. I had Gerald and Jane on the show. We actually combined this target with griffins. And we combined the two. I kind of did the smooth transition into griffins in the Tartarian Empire and the connection with Genghis Khan. Okay. Now, Genghis Khan, the Mongolian Empire was huge. Okay. It was, I don't want to say it was like a hostile takeover of a lot of lands, but it was. And that's kind of where I was like, it's kind of where the data pointed to some kind of like, whatever this is, it was like a hostile takeover, maybe. Like something was coming in as a hostile takeover. I don't know. People were worried about it a little bit. And something that was going to be infringing upon us. Okay. And in the Dark Fleet, that actually has secret space program ties, Barry. The Dark Fleet is some like German, I think it's like some kind of German faction, like not Waffen or something. I don't know. I don't know my secret space program jargon very well. But I've talked to like James Rink about it and a couple of other people. They said it's like I think that's like the German aspect of it or something. It's like the Dark Fleet. It's humans. Okay. It's mostly humans, but it's also something that's like on the darker side, right? And so let's go to the second time that I've remote viewed this. Is the target that you gave me. Not
hey, let's just talk about the first one real quick. Quick.
Let's do it.
So you said Genghis Khan. Do you write Khan or was it Genghis Khan?
Genghis Khan. It says Genghis Khan.
I don't want to stretch it too much, but what that brings to mind for me is I would take that and turn that into an episode of the original Star Trek that's called Space Seed. And later on, the second part of that episode would be the movie called The Wrath of Khan. And Khan represented the eugenics war that was supposed to be happening actually about 10 years ago, according to Star Trek, somewhere around between 99 and 2010. there's supposed to be this eugenics war, and Khan was like the leader. It wasn't Genghis Khan, but it was eugenics war.
You said eugenics. Like, aren't we kind of dealing with that a little bit right now here with these?
Absolutely. And
even more, you know what I mean?
Even more, they were found they were in suspended animation on a ship called the USS Botany Bay, and they got found by like Kirk and them by accident. And they thawed Khan out, and he thawed the others out. And he was eugenically bioengineered, so he was superior physically and also mentally intelligent. He was bioengineered mentally too, but they had like this messed up desire for conquest, and it overtook them and actually destroyed kind of what they were trying to do. They were trying to conquer the whole world real quick. There was like, a few of them, like 10 or 15 of them, but they were these super people. So that goes all the way back. That original, that was sorry ass. Excuse me. Ooh, sorry, he's a racist.
We'll say a cuss word every now and then.
Ricardo Montalban. And I never really liked him. My mother was a real buff on all the old stars. She didn't like him because he did some things towards Rosalind Cash. He was very racist. Anyway, so Mr. Warwick, the plane. But anyway, he played Khan in both episodes of that, in the movie years later and in the original series. But yeah, there's a point, like you said, we're talking to Kirk, and Kirk's saying, he's saying, man, I had plans that you wouldn't understand. He's going to go, what? Because I'm not a product of bioengineering. And he goes, you're inferior physically and mentally. And I'm surprised that over these hundreds of years, man hasn't changed himself. Yeah, you got the technologies and the gadgets, but man himself is still very weak. It's kind of a moment where you look at like, whoa, stuff like that has happened here before. You know what I mean?
Especially we're connecting it to like the target today too.
And especially when you start dealing with these these extraterrestrials that came here, ancient aliens, ancient astronauts, but really those that bred with us. And I'll say this again, although I got problems with this book, when it talks about the Nodites and the Prince's staff and the mid-layers, all that stuff is really worth checking out. And they really break down the different extraterrestrial factions that came here and bred with humanity. But they don't call them Anunnaki. They're not saying that word. You've got all these different factions. And I'll tell you, they start describing these Nodites are the giants of old. So in some way, they're describing the Phelium and beyond that, different types of them. And it makes me wonder how much of that we're dealing with in a cryptid world right now. And, when you follow Scott Carpenter, quote unquote, T-Carp, I think that guy's pretty cool. He's doing a good job. I mean, he's putting stuff out every day, a bunch of stuff. But a lot of it is dad talking about, I didn't realize how involved with the Sasquatch genome Scott Carpenter was. He was the one with David Paulides doing that whole thing to get with the pancakes, McDonald's pancakes and the UPS tape stuff.
Yeah.
To get So I mean,
you've talked about that before.
Yeah. That whole deal though, when dealing with that, and Carpenter always says he thinks they're Nephilium, and he brings up constantly that why is it that I'm not religious, but he was a Christian. He said when he rebuked them in the name of Yahushua, they always go away. And if it was just an animal, a gorilla wouldn't. If a gorilla's charged you, could say, "Hey, stop in the name of Yahushua." It's not going to stop that thing. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, Sasquatch respects that spiritual law. So it throws something else in the equation. I will say this as somebody who's not religious. All right. For whatever reason, there's certain words that you can use in the presence of dark forces that do work, and that's one of them. Why does it work? I've talked to some people who said they tried it didn't. The demon came on them even harder. So that's just a story, and it came even harder. I'm gonna take your luminosity now. You know what I mean? But most of the time, it drives those things away. Why? What's the reason? There's some intent behind that. No matter what we want to say, there's other words too, like the Kadesh. That one pushes them away too. Or you could just tell a good, loving joke. That'll get rid of them just like that. Yeah. Little things like that.
Whatever works.
So when dealing with that, but why that works with Sasquatch, or stopped it, or I've heard that multiple times, to stop them get banging on the side of the house. They come out and say that, and they stop.
Mm-hmm.
Or one lady said she just can't think it was white, Snow White Bigfoot. Finally saw what she looked like too, but she said, I think it might have been her. Said she went out and told him just to stop, started yelling out there at him. I don't think she used any spiritual preferences, just yelled at them to stop, and they stopped. So something going on there. I just find that interesting, because we don't know what we're dealing with, because they won't really communicate with us for the most part. So we don't know if they're Nephilim, Nodites, mountain giants, Janowska, Gugwe. I mean, what the hell? Anyway, back to Atlas.
Three-eye Atlas. Yeah. Well, we had that data. It included like Genghis Khan. It seemed like that was something that was kind of ominous, right, to me when it came to that data. And then you tasked me with this target again, present day. Like, we've had a lot of developments in the news and with what people are saying. And this Avi Loeb character guy I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean this guy out of Harvard, which was kind of wild, because he was like the only person that was really putting it out there. Like, hey, there's a hostile alien craft headed towards Earth, and I'm
just like he did with the Oumuamua. He did that with the Oumuamua too.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting. They're calling it a comet now because it's developed a tail. Correct?
It's got a tail all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. It's also putting out light from the front too. It's like illuminated. It's like there's this luminescent light coming off the front of it. So they're like, well, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before. And it seems as though it's self-illuminating.
And I think it's not, if I could be wrong on this, I don't want to misquote, but I think it's the James Webb telescope that saw light on it too. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what I read.
Well, it finally has a tail. It had a little tail to begin with, but they weren't, I don't know. Now it's got a bigger tail. And so,
it's kind of like Halley's Comet. Didn't it get a bigger tail when it was in our solar system?
I remember that. Yeah, when I was in elementary school, we had Halley's Comet.
Damn,
1980s.
I was like,
yeah, 1980s, right?
No, just kidding.
You're an old man. I'm young. I'm just kidding. You're like a couple years older than me, Barry. It was in the 1980s, though. I do remember.
Not too much. You remember Kiss My Grits, so you're going back a little bit.
I was watching reruns.
About the time you were playing race cars with the Big Boss Man, right?
That was G.I. Joes. I was driving race cars. I was playing G.I. Joes. Yes, with the Big Boss Man.
I thought you said he had his own Hot Wheels.
He had G.I. Joes. It was G.I. Joes.
Oh, yeah, G.I. Joes. Okay.
Yeah. It was my cousins. Yeah. That was fun. Good times, man. I've had a wild life, y'all, from the very beginning. All right. This data, Barry, though, this really does, it's similar to the data that we did before, but it's worse.
Yeah, I agree.
It's worse. Okay, and now y'all know that I love to always leave on a high note, and don't live in fear, live in awareness, and all that stuff. Okay, but this is weird. Okay, this is really weird. All right, so should we just get into it?
Yeah, go for it. It's kind of. I mean, okay. I'll just say it again. It's one of the times I bit off more than I could chew again. I was too far. I wasn't trying to go that far down the rabbit hole. That's what I get, though.
Okay, here we go. All right, so this is for 3-eye Atlas, and this is the second session that I've done on this. A blind target that Barry gave me. I did this on September the 4th, so this was recent. In the past week, I did this one. My sensory data includes original, round, oblong, vein, stopped, halt, caught, zoomed, and zoomies. Zoomies are like what dogs do around your room, okay? But I wrote zoomed and zoomies, okay? My analytic overlay, some of the words and phrases I wrote down include origins, origin story, Orion, meters, Van meter, vanity, Vein and Vein, or I went down like the Peacock Highway there with like Vein, like VAIN and VEIN. So Vein and Vein. I wrote down take a break, probe. And that's kind of like what they're saying, like this could be a probe, right? Probe scouts, probe and scouts, carbon based. I wrote down Wally and Eva, like that movie from the movie Wally. Wally, Eva. Eva was a probe, basically. She was looking for botanicals on Earth, any kind of sign of a living plant, by the way. Okay, so Wally, Eva. And I wrote down catch a predator. That was the next thing I wrote down. Roundabout and solar eclipse. Now we just had a lunar eclipse, didn't we? We had some kind of an eclipse a couple of days ago, didn't we? I think it was a lunar eclipse. I wrote down solar eclipse, and this is what I wrote down. So like my drawing is kind of like something that's like, I don't know, something in orbit. Okay, something orbiting around a circle, basically.
It also looks like a portal or a mako too.
Oh yeah, and it's like that little. These are my drawings right there. Okay, but it was actually like this way, but I drew it this way. It was actually like this, so it was something that was circling like this, but I drew it like that, like in the 3D, right? Or the, what is that, 2D, 1D? I don't know. But it was actually like this. Okay. What do you think so far, Barry? I think that's pretty crazy on target right there. We haven't gotten to the weird stuff yet, y'all. Okay.
Keep going and knock it out.
Okay, let's keep going. So here we go. So I wrote down satellite in orbit, space junk, around and around, and I wrote down my sensory data was like circular and circling. And then I saw this big V. So like I wrote this V right there. Like I just saw this big V, and I started getting all this information. I wrote around and around, Voltron, neutron, V, the movie V, reptilians, infiltrate was my sensory data was infiltrate. I wrote vendetta, takeover, and then I wrote reptilian agenda, and I circled it in the middle of my page, and it said cull the herd. And then I got freaked out.
Cull the herd?
Cull the herd. CULL, cull the herd. And then I just ended the session because I was like, this is messed up. I don't know what this target is. This is messed up. And it was very disturbing as I was like remote viewing it. But yeah, this is for 3i Atlas. Now, I'm not saying, listen, it's just data. It's just data. But this is weird, Barry.
Hey, so before I revealed to you what you think it was?
I said reptilian takeover. That's what I said. I think I told you it was a reptilian agenda of some sort. There's like reptilians headed somewhere, and they're like, it's got something to do with like that movie, like that show V. Remember the show V? It was something like that. It was like the reptilians are like infiltrating. That's what it is. Okay. Can I tell you something else? Because I'm seeing some comments in the chat right now. And Patriot Starfighter, thank you for being here. It says, one place that Atlas was here to help with the upgrades for Ascension. Okay, well, here's something else. I talked to our friend. I've talked to, I don't know if I should say her name. Okay. I've talked to people. Let's just say I've talked to some people who were like, hey, you need to remote view 3i Atlas. I've remote viewed it. And I was like, well, I already did. And I told her about the data. She was like, well, that's not what I've saw and what I've seen. A lot of people are seeing it. It's like here for upgrades, and it's for Ascension, and it's for all this wonderful stuff. It's here to help. And I was like, well, that's not what my data says. And she was like, well, that's not okay. Well, whatever. You know, it was kind of like, well, I'm getting it's kind of like the thing that always happens, Barry. It's like I get my data, and my data is like kind of dark, and then there's like other people that are like, well, I remote viewed it, and you know, they're psychically, let's just say they're psychically looking into it. It's not like the kind of remote viewing that I'm doing where it's blind. Okay.
So it's
I'm
more
doing blind
astral,
target.
more astral viewing.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And so I just wanted to make that different. How do you say that? Differentiate. I want to differentiate. Okay, because I've been hearing that a lot too. These are blind targets, y'all, that I'm getting. I get coordinates and I'm just relaying the data. I'm not looking into this psychically, like where I know what the target is. I'm looking into these blind. Okay. And the data that I get when I look into these things blind, as opposed to people who are looking into these things that are already aware of what the target is, it's different data, y'all. Okay. And so we have to be aware of that. And that's why I'll bring it up. And I'm not saying they're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and they're wrong. It's two different beasts here. Okay. It's two different ball games, honestly. And so,
you explained that very well.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think that we're going to find the truth and like what's happening in the middle ground there. Okay. That's what it is. You know, I mean, it seems like an extreme on both sides. Because what I got was pretty extreme, and what they're saying is pretty extreme.
Here's what I objectively ask. Okay.
Okay.
And like I said, what is you always say? Entertainment purposes only.
This is it. Entertainment
What
purposes
you just
only.
described is a hostile invasion type of force.
Yes.
And this is what that thing's going to be doing when it's closest to Mars. And my question is this: is that something to stop this colonization that they're trying to do?
Oh.
Is that what this thing is? Is it to stop the human the digital twin colonization? Is it an invasion? Is an invasion of beings that are already there, ones that we talked about, either whether it be the Brotherhood of Light or these Tau Cetis? You know what I'm saying? What's going on there? Everything you just, all your data, and all this is nothing but bad stuff there. Okay, wars. The one good thing going on there, they try to block that off. That's a place of war, man. And something's going on now. This thing coming there. I'm sorry, I don't think it's our savior. I don't think it has nothing to do with Earth, but it has to do with that place. Yeah. That's the reason why they don't want us to see it.
Well, that's good. Just leave us alone. Fly by, man. Lock the doors. Keep going. Okay. It's like don't bug us over here. Okay, go do what you're gonna do. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, honestly, this should be one that the SSP people should be able to take this and run like Edwin Moses, like Carl Lewis with this one, because I mean, it's somebody's got to have one of their stories out here that fits this somewhere. I don't know which one, but that's what you see. I try to give everything a chance for proof and reality. So I'm not against any one people. I'm not against these contactees or SSP people or these MK Ultra. I'm not against anybody, okay? But I'm trying to figure out the real truth here. And that's got to be done scientifically, methodically, okay? Not just giving into fantasy about everything. Because look, just the contact experience itself, like I said earlier, is so bizarre, it leans to fantasy anyway and somewhat imagination. You know, which is not a bad thing, because when we start really dealing with another dimension or another universe, we perceive it in a dream-like fashion. We're beings of perception.
Yeah. Yes. And so good points, Barry. Good points. And Urso says Mona Lisa from the moon and that ship resembles 3-Eye Atlas. And could they have tried to escape Dracos in a stolen ship? Maybe. I think that that's something that I have remote viewed before. Matter of fact, I think I remote viewed that for you, Barry, too, but I had remote viewed that ship a long time ago when I was learning how to remote view and these methods that we use. So that ship was escaping somewhere, and probably Mars, escaping somewhere, and it crash landed on the moon. Okay. And that thing is there, by the way. And I do believe that 100%. Could have been. And Pilgrim Society has a great point too. And I was thinking this as well. It's like, well, reptilians have been around Earth forever. Why would we, maybe it's just another faction of them maybe coming in, or, I mean, going past. I mean, They're from somewhere, right, Barry?
We know nothing about them. We hear
Well,
New Age stuff. Come on, let's be honest. Okay, we about the Dracos, and if you've really been informed, you might have heard about the Saurians, but we know very little about the different species of them that are going throughout the Milky Way. Are they all messed up? We don't know. Are they all non-spiritual? Because we know about the reptilian brain. I mean, we have to kind of stay. We have to stay objective about a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. I don't know. Is that connected to humans? This thing coming here, is that connected to us? Is that part of the slavery thing? I mean, what could it be? I mean,
good question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's just I try to see both sides of it, but man, I don't see anything really positive concerning this. And I get a little. Sometimes I think that the reptilians are kind of a humanity scapegoat for us, because the truth is, when you come up on really one of these real dark entities, they're not reptilian. They're non-physical. And they're not even shadows sometimes. They're almost invisible. And what do you do then? You know, and those are just fronts. The reptilians sometimes I think are fronts for that. You know what I mean? And I base that too on the fact that I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of contactees now. I've been given that much of a platform. And when I ask for people that have really experienced these reptilians, very few have physically experienced them that I've talked to. But you know how many people tell me, oh, it was astral. Oh, hundreds.
I have heard that too.
Yeah, everyone. I'm not saying that doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't happen. And that's not true. I'm not discrediting that. But I promise you, that's a lot different than being physically on one of these craft and then have a 9-foot bipedal crocodile walk up on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally different.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, and that's not happened to me. And I mentioned hundreds of your shows now. Hey, I'm cool with that. The fact, whether they be positive or negative, the fact I've not seen a 10-foot tall bipedal crocodile on board a craft operating controls or using the little Will Smith pin, whatever it is, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with mind wipe. I'm cool with that. And I know there are some people that have experienced that, but we don't get, like when you did the show with Matthew Morning, you know, we don't get the full information about all of it. For example, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not saying, hey, I'm pro reptilian. It's not that. I did like the Godzilla cartoon when I was a kid, but that's different. Anyway, didn't like no Godzuki though.
Oh man, you know, I have definitely gotten some pushback from doing a lot. I was doing a good bit of shows where we were talking about reptilians. It was kind of in a negative light, you know, and I had some people that got upset about that, and that's actually why I did bring Matthew on, so we could talk about not necessarily the positive reptilians, but the neutral reptilians. And, you know, I mean, you got to give me credit here. I've brought plenty of people on my shows to talk about reptilians of all varieties, including one person who claimed to be a reptilian. And he turned out being really bad to me. Really mean. I was like, I don't think that I don't know. He may have been a real reptilian or may not have been. I don't know.
You know, I'm going to say something.
Didn't like me very much.
I'm going to say something, because it's something we have to be all aware of, okay?
Okay.
Since this is mostly a regulated field, whether it's New Age, ufology, cryptids, where they're unregulated fields, and they're like moth to flame for people with mental illness, psychological illness problems, oftentimes sexual problems, okay, and for just plain out effing liars, okay, those, and trying to discern between that and what is truth and reality sometimes is difficult. You know what I mean? We have to be aware of these people that discernment sometimes stands out, you know, big time. And I know, because a lot of times some of these people avoid me, and I'm cool with that. I don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Man. But they're like moth to flame in these fields. And sometimes somebody will come up and they'll be, what is that word? A ravenous wolf in sheep's clothing. You know,
ravenous reptilian.
Everything's fine when they're getting something from you or being narcissistic. Do something they don't like or have a point of view they don't share, and they'll turn on you just like that. or if they have a way to get
Yes, had been
famous,
turned
they
on.
can stab you in the back and get famous behind it. Oh, you're stabbed.
Oh, dang, man.
That's just the way it is. And I told you that when you first met me. I know I probably seemed like the brother sitting over there talking to people, but I just seem like you can say, God, Barry's kind of a downer. It's not only a little bit. I'm really Mr. Sunshine, but the experiences.
Man. You were mine. You actually, I got to tell you, Barry, you were right. You were right. How many times have I had to tell you that?
I wish I was wrong, though. I wouldn't try to be right about that. I wish I was wrong 100%. You know what I mean? But anyway, point being, I'm glad you're still working. You're still doing it. You're still holding the light, holding the vibration. Screw it to those people. You know what I mean? Keep doing what you're doing, and you're growing. You're still growing, and right now you've got a great database going. I mean, just this alone is a good one. Is it all the answers? No. But we put together some dots here, as you always say, that are very serious between Cydonia, between the Elysium, let's just call it that, the quadrangle word, is the Elysium, and also what Dr. York is saying. And right now, this is something that's a subject there that not many people are addressing. Not Caucasian, non-melanated anyway. So that's important. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah.
But that there was just. I'm sorry that I didn't like the data when you sent it to me. I was like, oh, I don't like that. So you think, oh no, not that. But I mean, it is what it is, though. That's what you were picking up on it, and it was extensive. It's coming through strong. It seems like a very hostile thing, and everything is not what it appears. Sometimes we can dress things up to make them all. And you know me, I'm all about positive contact. But hey, I have to accept it. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. If it's not, it's not. And everything going on there is bad. All your data has shown that. All your data has been corroboration for all the stuff we're talking about. Sorry, it's all negative. The war, that book by Brandenburg, that's not a good book. I mean, that's horrible. And that and what we're being told over and over, is that could be here. I've had an experience where I've talked about this before. I was on this craft. And I call it the biodome because there was some sort of a planet. It starts off as a metal. It's like a metal sheath. And when the being kind of goes like this, it slides back and I can see completely through everything. And I see a planet. It's this one here. And I see a planet that we're like orbiting. Okay. I guess that we call it an orbit. And it looked to me like it had been devastated by toxic gas. And when we took off, and I'll tell you, I noticed when the experiencer will tell me, I was on board this craft, and all of a sudden I felt this bump. And it's like when we took off, it's like not anything that was sliding around or real heavy on the body, but there's like this bump. Boom. And I think it's when you go through one of those Makos, there's a bump. Because Rudy Shields kept telling me that when I was talking to him. He goes, you're saying that. He goes, that's one of the things that I've talked to other contactees, real ones, that describe going through one of those Makos. There's a bump when you go through one of those black holes. Whatever it is they're doing to encompass the inside of that craft from the outside. Anyway, sorry. Point being that I wondered, my hypnotist had asked it, do you think that was Earth? I don't know. It didn't feel like it or look like it. And I start thinking of things like the show I watched as a kid, The Greatest American Hero. Even got that little disc, the little LP here for that song? Yeah. Anyway,
you have a record?
Not anymore. Back then in the day, I didn't want to get any of my parents had the 8 tracks, but they were going out. Anyway, but that, and on that show though, seriously, there was, a lot of people don't remember where he got that suit. At first he had a friend that they reanimated that was an ex-cop he worked with. They gave him the suit that came down from a craft, but you never saw the beings. Okay. And then the craft took off and he lost the instruction manual and was flying into stuff. I mean, that's kind of what the theme of that, but people don't remember the ship very much or how he got the suit. There's a point in the second season, that show he went for like 2 seasons. The second season, he was trying to be a normal teacher and he quit wearing the suit. and he got in trouble and got shot. And the ship came back and got him and picked up the guy from I Spy 2, Robert Culp, picked him up too.
Oh.
And they're on board. And first of all, there's an AI thing going around. They put him in a healing chamber. And there's this AI thing going around. There's this being on there that looks more like almost an amphibian to me. And it's got the thing on this suit that said, man, my planet got destroyed. And it shows him a planet that was his planet. And you see this thing crying. So that happened to my planet. And your planet is one of the garden planets. You can't let that happen there. That's why before my civilization was destroyed, we made the suits. And that's why you have the suits to stop
that's why
that.
He had a suit.
Earth. You know, but in terms of he's showing him Earth, what could happen to Earth, I wonder if that's what I was seeing, but I don't think so, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Just food for thought, okay?
Well, all these aliens that we hear about and see, and you know, the Roswell crash aliens, they all have on those suits, right? The one that guy had whose dog got evaporated, he put it in the freezer. What was that guy's name? That alien had on a suit.
Dr. John.
Does it start with a K?
Oh gosh,
can't remember.
I didn't want to say Stamey because that's the guy I used to work
no,
with. Not him,
that's not him.
It's John something.
Jonathan something, y'all. But he went on a hike and he encountered that ET and the
Jonathan
Reed.
UFO.
Jonathan Reed. That's it. Wasn't a K.
Yeah. You know, the two things we talked about before, but two of the most important things is I think what he said the suit did when he tried to cut a piece of it off. It was self-repairing.
Thank you.
And, you know, and when the alien came back to life later, it told him and apologized to him, said, I didn't want to hurt your dog. I was collecting samples, plant samples, like E.T. That's what E.T.
Oh, my God. No, that's okay. So that's what E.T. was doing. That's what Eve was doing. Eva or Eve from WALL-E, that cartoon. I love that movie. Yeah, she's like a little a flying robot who goes around to, I guess they're at Earth. I think they're on Earth. WALL-E is like a recycling robot. He's like recycling the metals and stuff and spitting it out. And Eve comes along and she's looking for plant life on Earth. And whenever she finds something, she, you know, puts it into it gets put inside of like her little unit, and then she shuts down until they come and pick her up. She's like a probe, a scout. So that's interesting that E.T. was based on that too. Yeah.
Because, you know, as kids, at least I was a kid when that came out, we always thought that he was eating the Reese's Pieces. He was hanging out with the kids, Drew Barrymore and everybody. So you thought maybe he was a kid, but he wasn't. He was a botanist, and he got left here. He just wasn't an old one, because at the very end of that, one of the ET comes to the edge of the ramp, and he's old. He's got the gray stuff all on him. You know what I mean? So dude wasn't an old man, but he wasn't a kid either. He was some sort of a scientist. And anyway, point being, I think that goes, it crosses over quite a bit there. You know what I mean? So
it does.
Sorry, I forgot we were talking about what led to ET, because I got all excited there. But it was.
We were talking about the suits.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And that Jonathan Reed had that ET that he thought it was dead, y'all, and he put it in his freezer, and it came back to life.
Yeah, after a couple, it was regenerating like Dr. Who. But when he said he tried to pull a piece of the fabric he was wearing and cut it, and it repaired itself. And later, that's what I was saying. Later on, the being, when it came back, told him, said, I was collecting samples, doing my job, and the dog came up. I would never have heard it, but the suit is self-reactive, and it thought it as a threat, and it attacked it. Yeah, so that, you know, so it wasn't even the being doing it, was the suit itself reacting to the dog. And, you know, that takes it into those beings that I've showed you before, those Andromedans I dealt with. And they have those, I don't want to get the picture, but they got the little blue cast, but they got all these, they're blue, but these suits they have on is blue. But they have the stripe on it that's almost sky blue. It looks like a racing stripe.
Wow. Or
a sailor's uniform. And they're, in my mind, I'm getting that, you know, these things that they were holding, these wands that have this fiber optics coming out of it. The light part is symbiotically connected to those things, the fiber optics in there, and also the ship itself. So it's a whole nother thing going on. I believe that that's the same similar material to what Jonathan Reed is talking about, just used in a different way. Another thing about his deal is that ship. That ship, I don't believe it was a ship. I believe it was a rift between realities or between universes, perhaps, dimensions, whatever. You know what I mean? But I believe that there was more of a rift than it was actually a physical ship. I think they're one and the same. Does that make sense?
That's pretty deep, actually. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. I think it's really interesting when we start diving into those suits, though, and what they're capable of doing, and like you said, connecting all the dots with all the different stories that we're hearing about encounters with the ETs and the suits they're wearing and what they're capable of.
Well, taking that to where our science is going now with the newer materials, but pay very close attention to the new mycelium metamaterials they're using. And when I say that, like the things they're using mycelium to be a radiation shield for the International Space Station, one of those, they're trying to use that for there. When we did the things over the Moe, and how you were saying that was not a trip enough. You're saying fungal mushroom robots and stuff. You're saying,
yeah, that was weird. Like I would never come up with that on my own. That's straight up. That was the weirdest thing ever. I was like, it's like mushroom robots. I don't know what this is.
Then I bring up those what are they called? Biobots, but they're mushrooms. They have mushroom brains, the same way you see mycelium grow towards the other things. They use for movement by using electrical stimulation on those robots. I posted it and I showed it to you. It's a trip. And you see it walking. You're saying, that's probably how the Moe got across the Easter Island. When they're asked by the elders to move, they say they got up and moved. But when you see you got all these scientists pulling it with the ropes and it's going like that looks ridiculous. But when you start looking at how those mushroom robots move, anybody can look that up on YouTube. Type in mushroom robots. It'll come up. I think University of Berkeley or one of them that's building those things. But you know what? They're trying to make a skin for them and a skin for these other android things they're making that's made of mycelium. It's a mycelium skin of some type, a fungal type of skin. So when you start looking at these different type of metamaterials that might be self-repairing and these things that these beings are using and wearing, we need to start looking at that, especially when I've described before how a part of the component, how these things are grown over black holes, mini makos, and the components they use, which is materials that are metals that are mined from planets devoid of Van Allen belts and often atmospheres. They get bombarded by solar radiation, unreal. That metal there is totally resilient, combined with a type of mycelium, a fungal component, combined with a DNA from the crew, and also combined with some type of a photonic quasi-crystal compound. All that put together, made in this compound that's grown over a MACO, magnetically internally collapsing object. But that component is alive. That makes the ship alive. More than that, the fungal gives it a sentient factor. I've mentioned it before on this craft I've been on board. I wonder why I'm walking around and I'm sick as heck, but nobody's stopping me or making me, you know what I mean? And I wonder why. It's because that craft probably has known me in other bodies. It's a space organism, probably millions of years old for all. We don't know what their lifespan is, but it'd be like the same racial memory, the way a Sasquatch would recognize us or birds recognize us generations later. If you've interacted with their older, they have a race memory. So that thing, I think, has not just a race memory. I think it has a soul memory imprint, soul race memory. So it recognized me. It knew I wasn't going to jack nothing. I'm not a thief. So I'm so sick. What am I going to take? That was always my plan. I'm going to grab something and I'll prove this is happening. Then you get on board that thing. You're so sick and you're so blown away. Just frame of reference.
Yeah.
So no we're saying who was that talking earlier today? They're saying you're all not ready for contact. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Charlie saying it earlier in that group that it was I think it was Bashar, Daryl Anka, one of his deals. He was saying that we're not. People are always asking, when are we gonna have contact? And the stars are always saying, you all aren't ready vibrationally, energetically. And that could be true to a degree of what I'm describing there, the temporal aphasia and different things. And back then, I was vibrating pretty high, man. I wouldn't want to really try to take that on at this age now. I probably would survive it, but it wouldn't be as easy. You know what I mean? Trying to breathe in that Windex breathing stuff, and you're all dizzy. Then you got these cats in your mind blowing you up, you know, with pictures too and feeling. Whoa, it's a lot to take in. No frame of reference for the technology you're seeing. Oh, only frame of reference you has is science fiction, and that doesn't cover it.
Yeah, sensory overload.
Yeah, it's good.
I can only imagine.
It's good word. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm still trying to think. Like my brain goes into overdrive when I think about robots having mycelium skin, and that being alive. I mean, that's a lot. That's deep right there, Barry.
You know something else to bring up. Just to sorry, I'm doing a Gemini thing with you jumping around, but you know, when dealing with the artificial, I was shocked that I'm sorry I read too much of this, but there's other parts in here when dealing with that key that I mentioned. They talk about so much about artificial intelligence that's running this complex and how it's doing this recording and all that stuff. But you know, that trips me out because when I see that square again that you had, it makes me think of what you saw around the moon. And are all these connections and are these civilizations that are using the sun, that are using the sun and the black spots, the dark spots of the sun that are portals, actually dimensional, are they using that for their transit here to this solar system?
Yeah.
And is that one of the civilizations doing that? Because that thing you saw around the sun was nothing but AI. And you described like towering AI.
Yeah, that was the cube that cube that was attached to the sun or something. Is that the target? It was like a cube tethered to the sun, and that was pure AI. I mean, that was the whole target was just AI. And you know, also I had that target you gave me of the Earth's weaponized natural portals, and that all was this. It was all the sun. I mean, it was supposed to be on Earth, but like I was 100% on and in the sun during that target.
See, and that's when I first started really examining Brandenburg again. John Brandenburg, as a plasma physicist, he was talking about that, about how they can actually manipulate portals through sound and through plasma and through different things. And I heard that, and I'm like, wow. And I think about some of these dark factions, and we start getting to truly a type 2 civilization or type 3. They start using not just the parent star, but the fabric of space itself. And you get a type 3 civilization, they're using the fabric of the Mako itself. The black hole is this energy source. Those are the ones that probably don't exist anymore and only exist within the Mako itself, aka the Akashic records. You know, it gets pretty interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
And when you start thinking about beings that can actually use the Makos, the black holes of their individual molecule and cells of their body to actually teleport galactically or maybe universal, it takes it to a whole nother level. So they can access a Mako within themselves and turn themselves into a Mako. I mean, that's heavy, Jessica. We're way away from that here. Yeah, we're way away from that. And what is it like when one of us gets in the presence of one of these beings in their biofield?
I don't know. That's wild, Barry. I don't know. I think it's all pretty fascinating.
Get blissed out. And you don't know why, but it's just a different energy. It's a foreign energy. It's really high. You've been around ETs. You've been around a few different types. Perhaps one of them was positive high energy, and you felt it. Mm-hmm. You know, like whoa, and then after the experience, after some of those experiences, I'd be like almost hulked up, all hyped up, and the knowledge, and it all starts fading, and he's oh no, and then after a while, then all of a sudden, you know, it's like a come down. It's like bipolar 2, man. They go manic, they're just crashing out real hard, man. you know.
The two times that I can recall where I was in the presence of ETs, I was put to sleep basically. As soon as I realized what I was looking at, I fell asleep. But you know what? That's interesting because that also happens when we're out in the field doing our Bigfoot research and we have something that happens and it's usually ET related and we all turn in for the night. We all go to our tents. Instead of staying up to investigate all night, we all go to sleep.
You know, some of it can be induced, like almost a delta frequency that they're hitting people with that puts you to sleep. And then there's also the other fact that as a being of perception, when you perceive a being that's like that, a higher vibration like that, it comes as a dream. It's almost like perceiving it the same way you perceive a dream. That's why it's hard to retain the information. And it's also why it can be so inducive of sleep too. Because then we sleep normally when we dream like that. We start accessing that type of, real low theta, delta. A lot of times, as a hypnotist, sometimes I have to get people to almost delta to really get the information or to do earthbound spirit release or something. But you can't take them too deep because they go into delta. It starts becoming, they're almost asleep and they can't retain the information. They become a little unresponsive. So you got to keep them kind of around the really lower theta. Know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm just talking something different. But
see, if you guys can't tell, Barry is a hypnotherapist. And the only reason that I know about the different stages of sleep is because of the remote viewing. And we have to learn that when it comes to like the gateway process that we do and the Monroe Gateway process. I highly recommend everybody do that program. You can get it on Spotify. Okay. You can get it anywhere. But if you want to learn remote viewing, that's a great way to start doing that with the binaural beats. Hillbilly Herb says, I tried Delta binaural beats session last night, was having visions in minutes, full body vibes. Yes, Hillbilly Herb, you are more than this physical body. I promise you that. And you're going to learn that more and more as you get into that and the deeper you go into these programs. So I love that. I love that. Thank you for that. Man, Barry, this has been freaking amazing tonight. What a great trio of targets you gave me. And
well, thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
It ties into Cydonia. It ties into what you did with Gerald and Jane. It's pretty interesting. I wish it was maybe a little more optimistical and positive. We can say, well, Mars is a heavenly planet, utopia, but it's not. It's no utopia. We know that for sure. That's one thing we're not being deceived about.
That's true. Well, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Okay, this world is not. And I always say, like, don't live in fear, live in awareness. And there's, listen, I want more than anyone to shift the entire world into like a positive timeline, okay, to the higher consciousness. But that's what we're doing. But we can't deceive ourselves. We can't just make stuff up to make everybody feel better. This is the data, okay? And if there's bad stuff out there, then there's bad stuff out there. And if there's bad things that are headed our way, we need to know about it. Don't live in La La Land and be like, oh, it's all positive and we're all here like living in, boogers and rainbows and whatever. I don't know. We need to know boogers and rainbows. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. We tell it like it is. We put it out there, the data. It's just data. We're not saying this is right, y'all. It's for entertainment purposes only. But we need to know what's coming. Okay. What to expect and to prepare for it. Okay. Prepare for it. Not that it's going to happen. Yes. Let's shift it to a higher timeline. Let's not worry about any of this stuff. But for now, it's a possibility. We know about timelines, right? There's different timelines. There's different ways we could go. Well, we can't shift the time. I'm not saying we can't shift it completely, but like it's easier to shift the timeline if we know what's planned. Okay. We know what's out there. Like that's like, it's like the elite or whoever, the elite with the little e's, the controllers have to like tell us what's about to happen. Like they want to tell us what's going to happen in the future so that we consciously manifest that. Okay. Because it's already in our consciousness. Like we all start manifesting that. Well, let's manifest something better. We know what they're trying to put it out there to us. We know what like the lower timeline is. Let's shift out of that and let's go higher. Okay. We can get around this, Barry, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
But don't live in La La Land.
I think it starts And it starts with changing the morphogenetic field of this planet, which is the collective consciousness of humanity. We've had the Earth reaching out for a long time to stop the damage. And in return, there's been more damage done. So it starts reaching out to the parent star. And the parent star is acting very erratic, about ready to take care of the cancer on the skin of its daughter. And that would be humanity. To be very careful, And I hope that that's what you're doing here. And the stuff like this is really starting to shift things to the higher frequency, and it's not, I'm sorry, I don't take to the whole thing. There's this rapture and suddenly we're doing this show and all of a sudden, ooh, Jessica's gone because she ascended and I'm still here. I'm talking to myself. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen like that. Okay. And I don't believe that. I do. It's different Earth where all of a sudden that happens. That one's gone. We're still here.
I shifted into 12D. I'm gone. You can't see me. I'm here. You just can't see me. I'm just kidding.
It'll happen on a collective conscious level. You know what I mean? And that's in a way, and it's an awareness thing, a perception thing, cognitive ability, how humanity changes and our ways change. Just like if there was an asteroid coming here, we should all be able to do, instead of trying to do CE5, like 3 million people meditation that is actually creative visualization of pushing that thing away. And it would be similar to the thing like the Star Trek where they have the little obelisk. An obelisk is on this planet with these what appear to be Native Americans to actually push these meteors that come close to the planet and push it as a deflector shield. The psychokinetic energy of humanity could do that too. But try to get just 25 people together in a room to meditate and focus on something. Good luck with that. I mean, you can do it, but I mean, it's not going to be easy. So trying to get several million, boy, you got your work cut out for you. But that's when we start becoming really the next level, the next evolution, type 1 civilization. We talked about these charters before, and I'm convinced that they're individuals that are, I believe they're time travelers too, but I think they're from maybe a point where humans start getting taken off planet. It's already happening now, I'm sure, but being raised for generations, then brought back here to help. And they've got a whole different thing going on. Or what happens to us before if we don't exterminate ourselves. And self-terminate. You cannot self-terminate. If we don't self-terminate.
The Terminator.
What do we become before we evolve to the next level? What is our container of consciousness become? What after this? Wow. The next one, is that when we become high energy plasma, like you seen making the crop circles, like was telling you don't lose faith?
Man, Barry, I see you and I making crop circles after we live this lifetime. I'm gonna be like, I'll call it Barry in my little orb. Be like, hey, let's go make a crop circle. I'm just kidding. Telepathically, of course. That's a funny thought, actually. Hey, Barry, let's become goblins and go scare people, like in Kentucky. Dude, can you imagine? Listen, once we're out of these meat suits, we can do anything we want. I'm gonna go be goblins and ghosts and orbs and all that. Like, I can't wait.
Be some miserable toad going underneath a bridge waiting for goats to walk across.
I'll do it. I'll go be a lizard woman and escape our swamp. Listen, when I get out of this meat suit, I will be a lizard person if I want to be. Okay, I'll do whatever I want. On a serious note,
the real trick, the hidden clause in death. There's all, just like we don't always read contracts. So you get something on your phone, it says the agreements, nobody reads them. They just push that button. But when you look at one of the hidden clauses in death for us is that as inorganic beings, non-physicals, energetic beings, we can almost mold our energetic field, our dream body, into anything and become anything. As energy beings, we're limitless. That's true.
We're limitless now, though, actually, too, when it comes to, like, that's what I was telling Hillbilly Herb while ago. We are more than just this physical body. And so I'm just saying we are limitless now if you just believe it and you work towards it and you recognize it. We can do anything we want. And don't be scared of it. Okay, don't be scared of it. I know. People, I get called weird and a witch and all that stuff because I've tapped into my enhanced human capabilities. But what if we all did that, y'all? I'm just saying, this world would be a much cooler place. It'd be cooler if you did. Be a lot cooler if you did.
Even if we all worked on dissolving our negative identities, this would be a different planet.
It would be. It doesn't take that much. We just have to tap into things, y'all. And understand your potential, our potential as a human race. What does it mean to be human, y'all? Right? I always say that. Well, maybe it starts with like tapping into like our special abilities that we have and stuff. I mean, there's a long list of what it means to be human, right? But if we want to be like advanced and really tap in, start listening to that Monroe Gateway stuff over the Gateway program over on Spotify. If you got a subscription, you can get it for free right there.
Right on.
I don't know. Y'all, okay, Barry, this has been awesome. I think we covered everything pretty good tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we got, you got the, I didn't get too carried away interrupting you, taking you off track too much tonight. So we got all the targets done, including some extra. You put the Cydonia stuff in there and a few other things. I think really good and makes it a roundabout information for everybody to do their own research and look into it themselves. And that pulls that whole tapestry together. You know what I mean?
It does. It does. Man, if you just go like through the playlist of all these remote viewing targets that we've done, you just start connecting dots, man. It's amazing. One day when I'm an old lady, I'm going to go back and be like, dang, look at all these shows where we connected all these dots back in the day. And we were right. I can't wait, Mary. One day when we're older, I'm going to be like real old. I know my son thinks I'm old now, but we can go back and be like, man, we were right. Some of that data is for entertainment purposes only, but dang it, we were right. Okay. And I feel like I think that's coming one day. Okay. So, but anyways, don't take it from us, y'all. Make your own decisions, make your own informed decisions on all this. And if nothing else, I hope we were just entertaining for everybody tonight. I hope everybody was entertained and maybe learned a little something. I know I'm always learning things. So, I don't know, Barry, I really appreciate these targets. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for doing them. You know, it's fun. It's informative. You know what I mean? And I think this one was really informative and at least gives us a place to kind of some avenues to explore that are, you know, somewhat data driven.
Yes. It's all data driven. It's nothing but data. Data, if you're from the north, it's data down here where you can kiss my grits. I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh. Well, oh my gosh. Well, if you guys want to get access to all that remote viewing data and you want to see it for yourself, please go over to my Patreon and become a member of Patreon. And I want to thank all of my Patreon members. Thank y'all so much. I've been working diligently to get all your gifts out, all my VIP members. I have like 5 people that I don't have your addresses. So if you got an address, if you haven't given me your address yet, please do. I got a list. I'll email y'all tomorrow to double check if y'all send me those addresses. But anyways, this is awesome, y'all. And I don't know. I don't think that we should fear. What do you think, Barry? What are your final thoughts on like 3i Atlas, for instance? You're saying like it's not going to come near Earth, so like we really don't have anything to worry about, right?
I don't think so. I think it's just be worthwhile seeing what it does as it leaves, why it's, you know, when it's out of our vision, observing Mars after it leaves and seeing what differences or what activity happens there. I think those are, you know, good starting points. And I think more reality ones also. Because more than likely, there's a reason it's being hidden from us when it's that close to Mars. I believe that's intentional.
Interesting points. I've never even thought about that. So, yeah. Well, I'm not going to worry about it, but I always keep my head on a swivel, and I am ready for whatever kind of invasion we have. I don't know. I'm going to go out guns blazing. Don't y'all worry. Okay. And I don't know. You know, I do appreciate the positive outlook that other like remote viewers, I hate to say that in quotes, Air quotes. People who have remote viewed, Barry, I know it's kind of crazy, right? But people who have looked into like 3i Atlas and stuff, I'm not going to say blind targets. I'm just going to say looked into it. They have a very uplifting, positive message to humanity over it. Like, we have an ascension coming. And yes, we do have an ascension coming. We are ascending right now. Okay. And that's why we're here. I think that's why we're here talking about this right now. But we have to also see the other side of it too. I'm not saying that there's a bunch of reptilians that are about to come and invade. I think the reptilians are here. Okay. They've been here. But there is something a little more sinister going on as well. But hopefully we don't have to worry about it, because it's going to be way off. It's like I'm in Georgia and these people are going to be driving. It's like I've got friends from like Europe that are coming to visit. They're like, hey, we're going to go to Canada. Are you going to be close by? Can you come meet us? No, you're going to be in Canada. That's too far for me to drive. Okay. I know that's a bad example, but it's like they're going to be so far away. We really don't have to worry about it when they swing by. Okay. But hey, I think that we should definitely keep an eye on it, right, Barry? Let's keep an eye on it. And if we need to, maybe I can get another blind target in the future of 3i Atlas within the next couple of weeks if it starts looking wonky. Okay. But nonetheless, don't live in fear, y'all. Okay. There's nothing to fear. Just continue about your lives. Continue about your lives. Go out and have fun. Get outside and put your feet in the grass and hug a tree. And give all your troubles to God, y'all. We've got a lot more life to live here, and let's do it together, and have some fun while we do it. Okay, so thank you to everybody who came here tonight. Thank you guys so much. We have the best chat on the internet at all, and I want to thank also Larry Sharp. I want to thank you again for being a member of the Hunt Club for 17 months. That's so amazing. You're the best. I want to thank Amy for that super sticker tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's support so much. But otherwise, Barry, where can everybody find you? What you got going on?
You can find me on Facebook under Barry Littleton, YouTube Barry Littleton. Do a lot of stuff on YouTube, most of it. Patreon Barry Littleton, also Instagram Barry Littleton. You can reach me at email barrylittleton1313@gmail.com. I do sessions, do readings, but I do a lot of hypnosis. Earthbound spirit release, past life regressions, ET regressions, generational curse cutting, and also I dissolve negative identities as well. I have a technique for that. So hit me up if you want services.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the wonderful targets. And, of course, hey, I'm always down for a good target, man. And if we need to do 3, I'll do 3. It may take me a while, but I'll get them. I'll get to them. I promise. Right? It took me a while to get to these ones, didn't it? But I think everything happens in divine timing when it's supposed to. And if this 3i Atlas especially is about to come whizzing by Earth or not anywhere close to us, it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So, well, I see all these wonderful comments. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are so sweet. And Barry and I both appreciate y'all so much and all your support. Please come back and see me on Saturday night. I'll be back at 10 p.m. Eastern on A Glitch in the Matrix. And Carrie Ann, I did see that Roger wants to do an interview with me. I'm going to hit him up. I think that's from Roger from Mud Fossil University. Is that who that is? Because my gosh, yes, we're going to bring him on the show, y'all. We'll do that. I'll look into that and hit him up ASAP. I promise. And so thank you so much for that. And yeah, Mud Fossil University. I've seen I know where a petrified dragon is, Barry.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, it'd be great to have his input on that. And I would love that. So, okay, y'all. Everybody have a wonderful night. Please stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. I love you guys. And I'll see you guys back here on Saturday. All right. Take care, y'all. And don't live in fear. Live in awareness. All right. Bye, y'all.